Chapter 996. Andor's plan has failed in the midst of the unexpected turn of events. Michael saw an opportunity to transform the situation into something advantageous, as he had always done. After explaining his plan to Eladir and Gaia, he led them into an empty cabin where Eladir had been kept upon his arrival. As Gaia entered the dimly lit room, her eyes widened in shock and surprise at the sight that greeted her, two majestic suits of armor standing before her. "I had hoped to present this to you under different circumstances, but now you need it more than ever," Michael said, his voice steady and determined. Stepping closer to the armor he had specifically crafted for Gaia, Michael gently took her hand and guided it to rest upon the chest plate. The moment her hand made contact with the armor, she felt a faint vibration coursing through it. Gradually, the individual pieces of the armor began to shift and separate, creating an opening for Gaia to step inside. With a simple flick of her hand, Gaia's clothing transformed into sleek black robes, perfectly matching the armor. Stepping into the waiting armor, she felt a peculiar sensation as the pieces enveloped her, fitting snugly against her form. Gaia couldn't help but be amazed at how the armor seemed to meld seamlessly with her body, granting her an extraordinary sense of connection. With a mere thought, she commanded the armor to encompass her head, and in an instant, the helmet formed, concealing her face behind an imposing black skull visage. Eager to explore the capabilities of her newfound armor, Gaia took a confident step forward, mentally urging the armor to unveil its hidden attributes. Responding to her intentions, the once billowing black cape attached to her robes disappeared from sight, seamlessly integrating into the armor. Then, to Gaia's astonishment, magnificent metal wings sprouted from her back, their surfaces gleaming in the soft candlelight of the cabin. This armor, wow, it's just perfect. Overwhelmed by the sheer magnificence of her armor, Gaia found herself at a loss for words, standing in awe as Michael, too, stepped into his own suit. The armor embraced him seamlessly, fitting him perfectly as he moved forward, testing its functionality with clenched fists. With a swift motion of his hand, Michael summoned his dark swords, which effortlessly slid into the scabbards integrated into the back of his armor. Satisfied with the smoothness of the sheathing, Michael cracked his neck and turned his gaze back to Gaia, ready to embark on their impending journey. "Let's go. We'll be setting off soon," Michael announced. With Gaia trailing behind him in her newfound armor, Michael exited the cabin with a plan to become the god he was meant to be. Michael stood at the center of the clearing, his voice resonating like thunder as he called out for Thilv and Taskin. The two wood elves swiftly made their way to him, their eyes widening in astonishment at the sight of Michael and Gaia donned in their magnificent black armor. Gaia received the map containing energy deposits, while Michael held the map containing the seeds of darkness. "My lord," Thilv and Taskin bowed respectfully upon reaching him, still captivated by the regal presence of Michael and Gaia. "Taskin, Thilv, I'd like you to meet Gaia. My wife," Michael introduced Gaia, the wood elves quickly surmising the connection between the two. "It is our utmost honor and blessing to be in your presence, my lady." Taskin and Thilv expressed their reverence. "As long as you serve us with loyalty, prosperity shall be your constant companion," Gaia responded graciously. Michael then opened the map, directing their attention to a specific area in Itnes. Thilv and Taskin leaned in, studying the map intently before returning their gaze to Michael, awaiting further instruction. "My lord, if you permit, we have something to show you," Taskin spoke, to which Michael nodded in agreement. The two wood elves hurried to their houses and returned with a large leaf, serving as a makeshift parchment. They presented a map drawn on the dried blue leaf, which surprised Michael. "After your departure, my lord, we expanded our scouting range and meticulously mapped the surroundings. The location you mentioned houses a Skyhall outpost, and according to messengers from the mountain tribe," Taskin began explaining. "Fucking assholes," Gaia interjected, her disdain for the Skyhall soldiers evident. "Do you have any knowledge of their activities in that area?" Eladir inquired. "No, my lord. The place is heavily fortified, and any attempt to infiltrate would result in certain slaughter," Taskin confessed. Michael had hoped to obtain a seed of darkness without engaging in combat against the Skyhall soldiers. However, with the realization that Skyhall forces surrounded the nearest seed of darkness, he had no alternative but to confront them head-on. Theta M, how many of these outposts have you discovered in your world? Gaia asked. To date, we have encountered 15 outposts, my lady. However, we suspect there are more concealed within the forest and uncharted territories of our world. Taskin revealed. Eladir, remain here with them and fortify the village to the best of your abilities. Use the arch crystals if necessary. Michael issued his instructions to Eladir, placing emphasis on the importance of protecting the village. He then stored the map back in his system storage. These Skyhall soldiers possess something that belongs to me, and I must retrieve it, Michael stated with a grave tone, conveying the seriousness of the situation. Turning his attention to Thilv and Taskin, Michael continued, You two remain here and continue scouting, but refrain from engaging the Skyhall soldiers directly. If they are establishing an outpost, they must have ulterior motives, and I want to know their plans. Yes, my lord. Thilv and Taskin acknowledged in unison. As Michael unfurled his wings, he and Gaia took to the sky, ascending with a single powerful flap. Another flap propelled them forward, soaring towards the Skyhall outpost. During the flight, Michael's thoughts were consumed by Nithrol's words, particularly the mention of Andor, the god of time and space. It was apparent that Andor harbored a deep-seated grudge against Michael, likely due to the previous Dark Lord's grievous actions. Michael couldn't help but question why Andor had yet to launch a direct attack against him. Perhaps Andor had already struck, but Michael had failed to recognize it. The presence of the Shadow Force working against him further fueled his suspicion of Andor's involvement. Regardless, Michael understood the importance of familiarizing himself with the gods, especially Andor, as it was a vital first step towards defeating his adversaries. Back on Andor's castle, resting upon his throne in deep contemplation, a profound frown etched upon his face, Andor observed the events unfolding on the island where the god of darkness, his sworn enemy, had held his wedding, only to be interrupted by Rudra, the god of war, his another enemy. Damn it! Andor's hand struck the armrest of his throne in an outburst of anger. As he pondered the motives behind Rudra's actions, the ethereal form of Seraphine materialized before him, her appearance seemingly too coincidental to be unrelated to the events that had transpired. The air in the castle turned icy, and Andor's gaze grew colder, radiating a palpable sense of murderous intent. What have you done, Seraphine? Andor's voice reverberated throughout the castle walls, laced with a chilling disdain. We have done what should have been done long ago, Andor. The barrier has weakened, allowing the Pantheon to send their armies to confront Dagon in his realm of hell, where he holds dominion. Andor's voice resonated with a frigid and merciless tone, tinged with bitter sarcasm and anger towards the Pantheon's perceived foolishness. Your Skyhall army shall face the Hell Walkers in the realm in between, while the Pantheon's forces confront Dagon in hell. Although we had not anticipated Dagon unleashing the graces, it has inadvertently worked in our favor. With the aid of the fallen gods, we can crush the Hell Walkers and eradicate any remaining influence of the Dark Lord in the mortal realm, Seraphine explained. However, as the goddess of information, a sense of unease gnawed at her, for everything seemed unnaturally smooth and advantageous, raising suspicions deep within her. And have you ever questioned why Dagon released the graces, despite knowing the consequences it would bring upon him? Andor's voice grew colder still, his desire to remain seated upon his throne waning as he fought against the urge to obliterate everything in his sight. Do you comprehend why I have not commanded my minions to gather all the seal-bearers and forced the Dark Lord to slay them? Did you truly believe that the Dark Lord had not considered the possibility of us amassing the seal-bearers, allowing his own reincarnation to eliminate them and shatter the barrier? Do you believe it to be that simple? Seraphine offered no response as Andor pounded the throne once more before rising to his feet, his anger and frustration simmering beneath the surface. Tell me, Serpahine, did you know Rudra was going to crash the wedding and make the Dark Lord kill the 3 seal-bearers on the same time? Andor's question hung in the air, punctuated by a heavy silence that enveloped them. After a brief moment, Seraphine nodded, confirming his suspicion. "Yes," she responded softly. "Then you doomed yourselves and the Pantheon." Andor's laughter echoed through the chamber, tinged with a mix of anger and frustration. "What do you mean? Enough with the secrecy, Andor. If you possess additional knowledge regarding the barrier, you must share it with us?" Seraphine growled, her own frustration boiling over from being kept in the dark by Andor. "I remained secretive because I know that you and the rest of the Pantheon would only interfere with my plans. However, I never expected you to be so foolish as to seek the assistance of Rudra, a mindless brute," Andor shouted, his voice reverberating through the halls as the castle trembled beneath his fury. "He must have orchestrated it all, foreseeing this outcome," Andor muttered, his fists clenched tightly as he brooded upon the God of Darkness and his intricate schemes. "I established the Sky Hall to serve as his primary adversary, the ultimate nemesis in his life. Prior to your imbecilic revelation of the god's existence, he believed that the Sky Hall was his sole enemy. He would have annihilated them and lived blissfully ignorant of the realm of gods. During that time, we could have sought a permanent means to eliminate him, or better yet, allowed Noah, his own brother, to be his executioner. And if Noah had failed, we could have struck him down when he was weakened. The opportunities were limitless when he believed he had no adversaries. A lion is most vulnerable when its hunger is sated." Andor's voice reverberated with anger as he explained the intricacies of his thwarted plans. The Pantheon and Seraphine had underestimated the God of Darkness, and their short-sightedness had ruined everything. In their eyes, Dagon posed the greatest threat, unaware of the imminent danger the God of Darkness represented to the Pantheon. But now he is once again on the prowl. He now knows that there exists a realm beyond mortals, a realm of gods. He is aware of the existence of other gods apart from his own brother. And thanks to Rudra's assault on his wedding, he now sees the gods and the Pantheon as his enemies. If you believe Dagon to be a formidable adversary, think again when the God of Darkness aligns himself with Dagon, decimating the Pantheon's army without mercy. Andor's fury grew as he still couldn't fathom the Pantheon's foolishness in revealing themselves and engaging in conflict with the God of Darkness. And by slaying the 3 seal-bearers on the same day, you have inadvertently created a breach in the barrier, allowing him to traverse between the realm of gods and retain his immense power, Andor bellowed. Typically, when a mortal attains the celestial stage, they are drawn into the realm of gods and transformed into worshippers, devoid of their own power. The barrier erected by the previous Dark Lord prevented mortals from reaching this stage. However, Andor knew that the previous Dark Lord had orchestrated this to ensure his own reincarnation would be the first to ascend to the celestial stage, exploring the realm of gods and safeguarding mortals from becoming mindless devotees of the Pantheon. For centuries, Andor meticulously crafted the facade of the Sky Hall as the arch-nemesis of the current Dark Lord, keeping him blissfully unaware while Andor plotted his revenge in the shadows. He had diligently concealed the existence of the realm of gods from the Dark Lord, but his plan had now crumbled. Through the simultaneous slaying of the 3 seal-bearers, a fissure in the barrier emerged, preventing the realm of gods from stripping the Dark Lord of his power. As a last resort, if the Dark Lord were to discover the realm of gods and embark on a journey driven by curiosity, he would have entered as a humble divine being, void of his powers. However, due to the recent turn of events, he would now step into the realm of gods as a fully fledged god. "How do you possess this knowledge?" Seraphine inquired, her curiosity piqued. As the goddess of information, even she had limited understanding of the barrier and its intricacies. And yet, Andor, who had been confined to his castle for the past 5 millennia, seemed to have acquired a greater understanding of the barrier than any other god in the Pantheon. "I am the fucking god of time and space," Andor declared with emphasis. "For the past 5,000 years, I have devoted every moment to studying the barrier and delving into the mind of the God of Darkness." Suddenly, Andor burst into boisterous laughter, a sudden shift from his previous demeanor that caught Seraphine off guard. "Why are you laughing?" Seraphine inquired, perplexed by his sudden change in behavior. "Because now, The Pantheon must work their assess off to find a means to free me from this castle. Andor chuckled. As I am your only hope in saving the Pantheon from his impending wrath. Chapter 997. Making gods after Andor's initial plan had failed due to the Pantheon's hasty decision-making and their limited knowledge of the God of Darkness' true threat. Andor had to resort to his backup plan. It was understandable that the Pantheon underestimated the God of Darkness, as they had witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by Dagon, unlike the God of Darkness who had reset the universe before engaging in a full-scale war against the Pantheon. However, as the God of time and space, Andor was well aware of the formidable power possessed by the God of Darkness. Back in Saelsis Castle, she entered a brightly illuminated hall, clutching 2 glass cubes in her hands. These cubes housed radiant orbs of light that emitted a pulsating, immense energy. Carrying the cubes, Khaleesi proceeded towards a set of glass tubes where Evan and Alara Valrin lay submerged in a shimmering silver liquid. They were unconscious, connected to various small tubes that extended into their bodies. Outside the glass tubes, a control panel adorned with glowing runes had been constructed. A figure was busy adjusting the tubes and tinkering with the intricate mechanisms, gears, and bolts as Khaleesi approached Evan and Alara. "How's the progress, Hammond?" Khaleesi inquired, her gaze fixed on the young man who had been working on the intricate mechanisms. Hammond stood up and turned around, his eyes immediately drawn to the 2 glass cubes in Saelsis' hands. He instinctively reached out towards the pulsating energy, but Khaleesi swiftly intervened, preventing him from touching the glass cubes. Hammond snapped out of his daze, appearing stunned. "They are indeed," Khaleesi confirmed, acknowledging Hammond's unspoken question. However, she restrained him from making contact with the cubes. Hammond seemed taken aback by the realization. "They are prepared, my lady. I just need a few moments to calibrate the energy valves. But I must warn you again, I haven't tested this contraption, and I can't guarantee its functionality," Hammond cautioned. Among the various peculiar inventions he had crafted for Khaleesi, the energy transfer device was the most hazardous and volatile. It boasted an intricate array of runes and mechanisms, challenging even his brilliant mind to fully comprehend. "It will work, Hammond," Khaleesi asserted with unwavering confidence. The design of this contraption had been bestowed upon her by a god, and in her experience, the god had never faltered. However, Khaleesi opted to keep the existence of this deity concealed from her mortal followers. Acknowledging Saelsis' assurance, Hammond cautiously extended his trembling hands. Finally, Khaleesi handed him the glass cubes containing 2 graces, one for Evan and another for Alara. Since these graces did not originally belong to Evan and Alara, who were mere mortals, Khaleesi understood that time and the proper utilization of the contraption were essential for the graces to settle within their mortal vessels. With the Dark Lord banished from the mortal realm, Khaleesi knew she had all the time necessary to execute her plan. Hammond carefully positioned the 2 glass cubes, each containing a grace, into the hollow spaces on the dashboard adjacent to the tubes where Alara and Evan were submerged. As he gently released his grip, a mesmerizing phenomenon unfolded before their eyes. The contraption, with its intricate mechanisms and glowing runes, seemed to come alive as it eagerly embraced the presence of the graces. With a soft whir, the contraption activated, and the hollow spaces magnetically drew in the glass cubes. The valves on the contraption's surface lit up in a symphony of vibrant colors, resembling a celestial dance. Liquids of various hues and viscosities gracefully flowed through the interconnected tubes, converging into the heart of the contraption. Soon, a golden liquid, shimmering like liquid sunlight, coursed through the tubes attached to Evan and Alara, delicately entering their unconscious bodies. It was a sight of otherworldly beauty as the golden liquid traveled through the intricate network of tubes, following its predetermined path with precision. The flow of life-giving energy slowly awakened dormant parts of their beings, infusing them with the essence of the graces. Hammond suppressed his fears and nodded in agreement. There was no turning back now. The fate of Evan, Alara, and their realm rested in the delicate balance of the contraption's intricate dance. The contraption itself seemed alive with energy, flickering and humming in synchrony with the life force coursing through its veins. Sparks danced around the intricate machinery, casting an ethereal glow in the room. It was a testament to the raw power harnessed within the contraption, a fusion of mortal ingenuity and divine guidance. Hammond, witnessing the extraordinary display before him, couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension. The sheer complexity and untested nature of the contraption raised concerns within him, questioning whether they should proceed. He hesitated, his gaze shifting between the flickering contraption and Celice, who stood nearby. "Perhaps we should reconsider, my lady?" Hammond finally voiced his concerns, his voice tinged with worry. "This contraption is untested, and the risks." Celice, however, exuded an unwavering calmness and confidence. She understood the magnitude of their endeavor and the consequences of failure. With a serene expression, she interrupted Hammond's doubts. "Hammond, we have come too far to turn back now. Trust in the design bestowed upon us. The Graces must find their rightful vessels, and this is our only chance to ensure the salvation of our realm." Celice responded, her voice resolute and filled with conviction. As Celice observed the graceful integration of the Graces into Evan and Alara, her mind drifted back to her humble origins in the realm of gods. In those days, the belief was that gods were born, not created. However, with the success of this contraption, she realized she held the power to transform any mortal into a god who would serve under her command. It was a moment of triumphant realization, making her feel like a true mastermind orchestrating the destiny of others. Yet, she couldn't ignore the pressing need to protect this contraption from the clutches of the Dark Lord. If he were to discover its existence, there would be no limit to his ability to elevate his already powerful and devoted followers into gods. Celice understood the urgency of safeguarding this knowledge and technology, vowing to do whatever it took to keep it hidden from the Dark Lord's reach. However, Celice and Andor remained oblivious to the true depth of the previous Dark Lord's cunning and the intricate nature of his grand schemes. Little did they know that his plan to unleash the Graces through Dagon's actions was just the beginning. A carefully calculated move designed to set in motion a series of events that would forever alter the course of their lives. As the Graces were released, it seemed as if everything was going according to plan for those who opposed the Dark Lord. They believed it to be a stroke of fortune in their favor. However, unbeknownst to them, this was all part of the Dark Lord's master plan, a carefully crafted web of manipulation that would lead to his ultimate triumph. Now, a new player had emerged onto the stage, the current Michael. He possessed plans that surpassed even those of the previous Dark Lord. With unwavering determination, Michael set his sights on achieving unparalleled power, vying to become the most formidable god ever known. His ambitions soared higher than any before him, fueling his relentless pursuit of dominance. Celice and Andor, engrossed in their own endeavors, were unaware of the intricate tapestry woven by the previous Dark Lord. Little did they suspect the magnitude of the challenges that lay ahead or the cunning brilliance of the mastermind orchestrating it all. As the radiant golden grace gradually permeated the bodies of Evan and Alara, an intense tremor engulfed them within the glass tubes. Violent quivering shook their forms, causing an eruption of sparks from the contraption and flickering lights that danced around the room. Unforeseen gusts of wind materialized, creating a miniature storm that whipped through the hall. Hammond's voice rose in panic amidst the chaos. "My lady, this isn't going well. They might perish," Hammond exclaimed, shielding his face from the fiery sparks with a trembling hand. While Hammond recoiled from the powerful gusts, Celice stood firm, unaffected by the forceful winds, her eyes fixed upon the Grace's ethereal progression into Evan and Alara. Unlike Hammond, she sensed the immense power radiating from within them, a testament to the Grace's successful integration. "Hammond, we are not simply baking cookies," Celice replied calmly, her voice cutting through the tempestuous air. "We are making gods." A slight tremor and tempestuous storm are to be anticipated in such extraordinary endeavors. As the hall continued to tremble with increasing violence, a sudden darkness shrouded the space, enveloping it in an eerie stillness. Yet, amidst the obscurity, A soft golden glow emanated from the bodies of Alara and Evan. It gradually intensified, piercing through the darkness like a beacon of celestial light. In that radiant illumination, their eyes slowly opened, revealing an otherworldly azure hue that seemed to emit its own luminosity. The harmonious resonance of a gentle hum reverberated from their bodies, resonating through the chamber. It was a sound that whispered of newfound power and divinity. Then, as if guided by an invisible force, the glass tubes that had contained them shattered into countless shards. Alara and Evan, now transformed into gods, hovered effortlessly in the air, liberated from the confines of mortal restraints. With a serene and commanding presence, they advanced forward, their movements grace personified. The hall, which had once trembled with chaos, now stood in awe of their ethereal forms. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as the pantheon witnessed the birth of two new deities, their very existence altering the course of destiny. A few moments later, the chandeliers flickered back to life, bathing the room in their warm glow. The hall gradually returned to its familiar state, but Hammond's eyes remained widened with astonishment. He didn't even notice the tiny cuts on his face, the remnants of the shattered glass tube that had grazed him. All of his attention was fixed on Evan and Alara, who had gently descended to the ground, their newfound power palpable in the air. Selisi turned to them, her gaze filled with curiosity and satisfaction. "How do you two feel?" she asked, eager to hear their impressions. Evan, still trying to make sense of the transformation he had undergone, voiced his confusion. "What is this power?" he inquired. His memories were hazy, recalling Sales's promise of granting him new abilities and urging him to step into the tube filled with shimmering liquid. After entering the tube, darkness had swallowed him, and his consciousness faded away. Now, as he awakened, he felt a profound change coursing through his being, a power unlike anything he had ever experienced before. While Evan sought answers from Selisi, Hammond discreetly observed their cultivation levels, hoping to gauge the extent of their newfound abilities. Yet, to his shock, the power radiating from them defied all comprehension. The energy that enveloped Evan and Alara surpassed any mortal cultivation he had ever witnessed. The graces infused within their bodies had shattered the limitations of mortal potential, propelling them into the realm of fledgling gods. Although they had yet to unlock the depths of their inner powers like the enigmatic Dark Lord, given time and Sales's guidance, they possessed the potential to become the very gods that Selisi had envisioned. "You both should rest now. You've been through a lot, and we have much to accomplish," Selisi advised, concern evident in her voice. Although Selisi felt a surge of delight at gaining another advantage over the Dark Lord, she remained vigilant. She understood the gravity of the situation and refused to underestimate her formidable adversary. At any given moment, the Dark Lord could seize the opportunity to turn the tables on her. Selisi was well aware that underestimating him could lead to dire consequences, even risking her own life. Therefore, she was determined to stay cautious and prepared for any challenges that lay ahead. Chapter 998. Seed of Darkness. Back on Itnes, Michael and Gaia soared through the expansive blue sky, their wings carrying them gracefully above the lush and vibrant forest below. Despite the breathtaking scenery surrounding them, Michael remained lost in his own thoughts, his mind consumed by plans and strategies to confront the gods. Not a word escaped his lips as he delved deeper into his contemplations, focused on the daunting task that lay ahead. After flying for nearly 3 hours, a majestic mountain came into view on the horizon. Its towering peaks seemed to kiss the heavens, casting shadows over the land below. As Michael and Gaia drew closer, they noticed the presence of an outpost nestled upon the mountain's rugged slopes. The Skyhall soldiers had established this formidable fortress, complete with towering structures, imposing metal gates, and vigilant soldiers clad in gleaming armor patrolling its premises. As Michael and Gaia approached the outpost, the aftermath of its establishment became apparent. The once vibrant and flourishing forest surrounding the outpost had been mercilessly destroyed, reduced to a desolate expanse of ashen ground. The stark contrast between the lifeless, charred earth and the edge of the forest, still adorned with its array of colors, was a sobering sight. Even from above, Michael and Gaia could feel the residual heat radiating from the scorched ground. The flames set by the Sky Hall soldiers to clear the area and secure their outpost had left an indelible mark on the landscape. The scent of smoke lingered in the air, a reminder of the destruction that had taken place. As Michael and Gaia hovered in the sky, Michael's piercing gaze fixated on the outpost sprawled before him. The outpost resembled a formidable fortress, strategically positioned at the base of the tall mountain. Its towering structures, constructed with sturdy stone and reinforced with metal, stood as a testament to the Sky Hall soldiers' determination to maintain their hold on this territory. From his vantage point, Michael discerned the complex layout of the outpost. The main entrance, guarded by a pair of massive metal gates, served as the primary access point. The gates were flanked by watchtowers, providing an elevated view of the surroundings. He noticed the patrolling soldiers, clad in gleaming metal armor, marching along designated routes, their disciplined footsteps echoing through the outpost. The perimeter of the fortress was encircled by a tall stone wall, punctuated by arrow slits and battlements, offering the defenders a strategic advantage. Michael's keen eyes scanned the wall, searching for any weak points or vulnerabilities that could be exploited. He noted a section where the stones seemed weathered, a potential target for breaching the defenses. Within the outpost, Michael estimated a considerable number of soldiers, their presence indicated by the bustling activity and occasional clanking of armor. The outpost was a well-guarded stronghold, a testament to the Sky Hall soldiers' readiness to protect their position against any opposing force. Michael mentally mapped out the outpost, committing its structure and layout to memory. He knew that any attempt to infiltrate and confront the Sky Hall soldiers would require careful planning and precise execution. These idiots appear to be complacent and unaware, Michael. We have the advantage of surprise on our side. Let's storm the shit out this outpost, Gaia suggested, her anger still simmering from the recent wedding chaos caused by Rudra. The Sky Hall soldiers seemed like the perfect outlet for her pent-up frustration. However, Michael opted for a more measured approach. Just give me a moment, Michael calmly replied, conjuring a pair of drones from his storage system with a swift motion of his hand. He commanded the drones to hover discreetly above the outpost, scanning the area for additional information beyond the soldiers' sight. He also wanted to eavesdrop on the conversations among the soldiers gathered around a campfire within the outpost. While it would have been easy for Michael to obliterate the outpost simply, his primary objective was to acquire the Seed of Darkness, an enigmatic object or source of energy whose nature remained unknown to him. He needed to gather as much information as possible about the outpost and the knowledge possessed by the Sky Hall soldiers before launching an attack. As an experienced hitman, Michael understood the paramount importance of preparation and acquiring even the smallest morsel of information to ensure the success of his mission. With the drones buzzing and soaring through the sky, Michael and Gaia focused intently on their earpieces, listening to the audio transmitted from the drones. As Michael and Gaia listened attentively to the transmitted audio from the drones, the soldiers' conversation around the campfire unfolded before them. "I can't stand this world anymore. It's so boring," one soldier grumbled, a hint of nostalgia evident in his voice. "I miss the comforts of home, the warmth of a woman's touch." Another soldier chimed in, Would elven women, they have a certain charm about them, don't they? Those ethereal features and grace. I quite liked them." A soldier scoffed, "You must be joking. Would elven women are overrated. Give me a strong dwarven lass any day." Amid their banter, another soldier interjected, "Enough with your romantic escapades. Have you heard anything about the equipment needed to break down that black door in the cave? The Sky Hall is taking ages to send it." "Who knows? They're probably too busy counting their riches," another soldier replied, frustration evident in his voice. "But seriously, what kind of metal is that door made of? I've never seen anything like it." A gruff voice cut through the conversation, asserting, "Our job is to safeguard the cave, not question the orders. The Sky Hall knows what they're doing." "True," another soldier chimed in. "Those wood elves are no match for us anyway." Their primitive bows and arrows won't even scratch our armor. It's laughable, really? Laughter erupted among the soldiers as they dismissed the threat posed by the wood elves. They reveled in their perceived superiority, oblivious to the impending storm that Michael and Gaia would unleash upon them. As Michael listened to the soldiers' conversation, a realization dawned upon him. The black door they spoke of, with its mysterious composition and the Skyhall's delay in providing the necessary equipment to breach it, seemed to align with the possible location of the Seed of Darkness. A surge of excitement coursed through him, knowing that he was one step closer to achieving his goal. Turning to Gaia, he spoke in hushed tones. "We have a valuable piece of information. That black door they mentioned might be guarding what I want. We need to be patient and strike under the cover of darkness when they least expect it." Gaia nodded in agreement, understanding the strategic advantage of waiting for the right moment. Together, they planned to unleash their assault when the nightfall cloaked their movements and the soldiers would be caught off guard. While Michael and Gaia formulated their plan, the drones continued their reconnaissance. As they scanned the surroundings, one drone came across a tent where several soldiers, not wearing their heavy armor, were busily preparing food for the upcoming dinner. Michael's lips curled into a devilish smile as he plotted a devious scheme. "Look, Gaia," he whispered, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "We have an opportunity to give these soldiers a special treat." With calculated precision, Michael maneuvered the drone closer to the tent, capturing footage of the soldiers handling the ingredients and preparing the meals. His mind whirred with thoughts of infusing the food with a subtle poison, a method to weaken their ranks before their ultimate assault. The information they gathered would serve a dual purpose. Not only would it provide crucial intelligence about the outpost, but it would also facilitate Michael's plan to incapacitate the soldiers without expending unnecessary energy or risking their own safety. The realization that Aitnes lacked the arch-energy or celestial energy he needed to fuel his cultivation power prompted Michael to conserve his limited resources, particularly his precious arch-energy crystals. He knew that every decision had to be strategic, and his new plan offered a means to achieve their objectives with minimal confrontation. Descending gracefully through the dense forest canopy, Michael landed gracefully on a sturdy branch of a towering tree, positioning himself and Gaia to observe the outpost from a vantage point. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned the drones back to his side, their mission of reconnaissance complete. "I can see what you are up to, but I still want to storm the outpost and kill them with my own hands." Gaia expressed her desire to storm the outpost and engage in direct combat, her fiery spirit eager for action. However, Michael remained resolute, his calm demeanor reflecting his calculated approach. "The best fight is one we win without raising our fists," he responded, his voice steady and assured. He knew that leveraging their advantage and avoiding unnecessary conflict would maximize their chances of success. As the drones returned, Michael deftly retrieved colorless vials from his system storage. Tapping the drone's undersides, he revealed a hidden compartment large enough to accommodate each vial. Placing the vials inside, he sealed the compartments with practiced ease. With the vials securely in place, the two drones resumed their flight towards the outpost. However, Michael knew that getting close enough to poison the boiling porridge cauldron undetected would be a challenge. He needed a distraction, and fortunately, his wife possessed a talent for creating chaotic diversions. "Honey, if you may," Michael playfully requested, fully aware that using the endearment would elicit a response from Gaia. As expected, she rolled her eyes and playfully punched him on the shoulder. Even in the midst of their mission, Michael took joy in teasing her and making her angry. "That sounds so cringe. I want to throw up," Gaia quipped, summoning her long bow into her hand with a swift motion. Knocking an explosive arrow onto her bowstring, she took aim at a tent situated a distance away from the food preparation area. Her intention was to create an explosion that would draw the attention of the soldiers, prompting them to rush outside to investigate. With a steadying breath, Gaia focused her aim and released the arrow. The explosive projectile soared through the air, covering a distance of at least 400 meters before finding its mark on the targeted tent. In an instant, the arrow detonated with a resounding blast, unleashing chaos within the outpost's confines. The sudden explosion jolted the soldiers inside the food preparation tent, startling them from their tasks. They hurriedly abandoned their work, rushing outside to assess the situation. The commotion spread like wildfire, causing a ripple of shock and tension among the other soldiers stationed within the outpost. "What the hell was that?" exclaimed a burly soldier with a thick beard, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. "I don't know, but we need to find out," responded a wiry soldier, gripping his spear tightly as he joined the others in investigating the source of the explosion. As the soldiers anxiously dispersed, their attention fixated on the aftermath of the blast, Michael seized the opportunity. Swiftly maneuvering the drones, he expertly controlled their movements, guiding them toward the various food stations scattered around the outpost. With each drone equipped to spray the poison from the concealed vials, Michael directed them to contaminate every dish, including the large cauldron of porridge bubbling over an open flame. "Let's make sure they all get a taste of our little surprise," Michael muttered, his voice filled with devious satisfaction. The drones moved swiftly and efficiently, their poison-laden sprays coating the meals, unseen by the soldiers preoccupied with the explosion. Just as quickly as they had arrived, the drones retreated into the sky, disappearing from sight before anyone could spot them. From their vantage point in the trees, Michael and Gaia observed the chaos unfolding within the outpost, the soldiers now oblivious to the impending threat lurking within their food. Michael's lips curled into a satisfied smirk, knowing that their plan was well underway. "They won't even know what hit them," he whispered to Gaia, his voice laced with a mix of anticipation and triumph. When the darkness covered the world and night fell, Michael and Gaia soared through the air toward the outpost. As they descended upon the scene, a horrifying sight greeted their eyes. The soldiers, once bustling with life, now lay sprawled across the ground, their bodies racked with pain and suffering. Some soldiers coughed violently, spewing blood from their mouths, while others remained motionless, their life forces extinguished. The once proud and formidable warriors now appeared frail and broken, their faces contorted with agony, marked by veins pulsating an ominous shade of purple. The air itself seemed tainted, heavy with the metallic scent of blood and the haunting symphony of groans and retching. The poison had taken its toll, its effects lingering long enough to ensure that each soldier had consumed the tainted food. It was a slow and agonizing demise, affording them no respite from their torment. Their groans echoed through the night, accompanied by the haunting symphony of coughs and the sickening splatter of blood. Theta M. Michael and Gaia observed the grim aftermath, their expressions a mix of morbid fascination and detachment. The scene before them was a testament to their meticulous planning, a reminder of the lengths they were willing to go to achieve their goal. "They got what they deserve," Michael muttered, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of suffering. As the night stretched on, the groans grew fainter, replaced by an eerie silence. The last vestiges of life slipped away, leaving only the stillness of death in its wake. The once bustling outpost now stood as a grim testament to their victory, a reminder of the power they wielded. Michael's gaze shifted towards the gaping maw of a nearby cave, a foreboding darkness that beckoned to him. He could sense that within its depths lay the answers he sought, the black door and the seed of darkness. Determination burned within him as he took a step closer, ready to embark on the next phase of his perilous journey. Chapter 999. Way to wake up the system permanently. As Michael ventured deeper into the mountain, the cavern revealed remnants of broken puppets scattered amidst the gray stones etched with mysterious runes. The sight of these fragments evoked memories of golems in Gaia's mind, prompting her to maintain a vigilant and silent demeanor. Illuminating their path, two beams of bright light emitted from the intricately engraved skull adorning their chest armor. With each step, Michael observed the telltale signs of a fierce struggle, evidenced by shattered stone pieces and bloodstains splattered across the walls. It was clear that the Sky Hall soldiers had encountered a formidable defense protecting the coveted seed of darkness. Finally reaching the end of the cave, Michael confronted a foreboding black metal gate. Strewn before it were various discarded tools and equipment, remnants of the Sky Hall soldiers' relentless attempts to breach the door's formidable barrier. Among the scattered remnants stood a formidable siege machine, a testament to their desperate efforts. Intrigued, Michael approached the gate, his hand instinctively reaching out to touch its cold, impenetrable surface. Gaia, running her fingers along the door, murmured in awe, "This metal, it feels the same as your dark swords." Michael nodded, acknowledging the similarities. "It does bear resemblance, but it is not the same," he replied. Although the door appeared to be crafted from a similar material to his dark swords, Michael discerned its inherent weakness in comparison. To others, particularly the Skyhall soldiers, this metal seemed impenetrable. And it was precisely because of this impenetrability that the soldiers had been thwarted in their attempts to breach its formidable barrier. Michael couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at the door's resilience, knowing it had safeguarded what lay beyond from falling into the wrong hands. In a bold move, Michael unleashed a powerful punch upon the unyielding door, causing the cave to tremble and the very foundations to quake. "That is not a good idea." Gaia, witnessing the impact, voiced her concern, cautioning him about the potential repercussions. Nodding in agreement, Michael glanced back at her and issued a warning. "Step back. Things are about to heat up," he advised, his eyes ablaze with determination. With a swift motion, he conjured a searing ball of dark flames, its malevolent glow casting an eerie light upon the surroundings. Directing the stream of intense heat towards the door, the dark flames made contact with the once impervious metal surface, causing previously unseen runes to ignite with a vibrant glow. Gradually, the dark flames began their relentless assault, causing the metal door to slowly yield and warp like molten wax beneath the scorching onslaught. With each passing moment, the door succumbed to the irresistible force of the dark flames, gradually dissolving away to reveal the hidden sanctum concealed within. As Michael and Gaia stepped into the inner sanctum, they were greeted by a sight that left them awestruck. The spacious hall was enveloped by walls of crystalline blue, shimmering with an ethereal radiance that bathed the entire chamber in a dim, mystical glow. The crystallized walls seemed to hold secrets of ancient times, as if whispering tales of forgotten knowledge and long-lost power. Standing as sentinels around the hall were towering metal statues, their imposing figures casting elongated shadows upon the polished floor. The statues possessed an air of ancient wisdom, their stoic gazes fixed upon the center of the hall, where a sliver of luminous energy floated gracefully above a majestic metal pillar. As Michael and Gaia ventured further into the hall, the metal black door they had melted down behind them abruptly came to life once again. The door, seemingly rejuvenated by an unseen force, closed with a resounding thud, sealing off their entry and shrouding the sanctum in an atmosphere of mystery and isolation. The atmosphere in the inner sanctum was heavy with an ancient presence, as if the very air held the essence of bygone eras. Gaia's eyes widened in awe and intrigue as she took in the sight before her. She had traversed many enigmatic ancient locations in her lifetime, but this hall possessed an indescribable quality that set it apart. It exuded an unmistakable aura of antiquity, as though it had been untouched by the passing of time. Michael, his focus unwavering, fixated his gaze on the ethereal sliver of light suspended in the center of the hall. With cautious steps, he advanced towards the radiant glow. Deep within, he knew that acquiring another seed of darkness would not be a simple task. The system had revealed that he required one more seed to ascend to the next level of his godhood, and he understood the magnitude of the challenges that lay ahead. His own armor was a seed of darkness, yet he required one more to reach the next godhood level according to the system. Just as Michael had anticipated, a resounding voice reverberated through the expanse of the hall, abruptly halting Michael and Gaia in their tracks. It was a voice that bore a resemblance to that of a woman, yet it exuded an unmistakable air of authority and supremacy. "Welcome, God of Darkness, to your first trial," the voice boomed, its power intertwining with the very essence of the hall. The imposing presence of the voice sent shivers down their spines, as an unseen force wrapped around them, rendering them immobile. The once free movement of their bodies was now stifled by the grip of this invisible paralysis. And as Michael and Gaia stood there, helpless, the commanding voice continued its address. "Speed, dear God of darkness, is a formidable power that transcends mortal limitations. The ancient voice proclaimed with an air of wisdom. In the realm of gods, the swiftness of movement defines the boundaries of one's might. Your mortal speed, though impressive by mortal standards, is as sluggish as a turtle compared to even the most leisurely of gods. Michael and Gaia listened intently, their bodies held captive by the unseen force that bound them. They could only absorb the words of the voice, unable to react or respond. Before you may claim the coveted seed of darkness, the voice continued, you must prove yourself worthy by overcoming a trial that will test the very essence of your speed. Within this ancient hall lies a path fraught with challenges designed to push your limits and unlock the swiftness hidden within you. Only then shall you be deemed deserving of the seed that holds the power of darkness. The words of the ancient voice echoed in Michael's mind, leaving him with a lingering sense of uncertainty. Why was this trial necessary now, when he had obtained the dark flames without such an ordeal? He pondered the purpose behind this test of speed and its connection to acquiring the seed of darkness. The system remained dormant, unable to provide the answers he sought. Michael could only hope that once the system awakened, it would reveal the number of seeds required to awaken its power fully. The words of the ancient voice echoed in Michael's mind, leaving him with a lingering sense of uncertainty. Why was this trial necessary now, when he had obtained the dark flames without such an ordeal? He pondered the purpose behind this test of speed and its connection to acquiring the seed of darkness. The system remained dormant, unable to provide the answers he sought. Michael could only hope that once the system awakened, it would reveal the number of seeds required to fully awaken its power. As the echoes of the ancient voice faded, the oppressive force that had held Michael captive dissipated, granting him the freedom to move. However, Gaia remained ensnared, still trapped by the invisible grasp of the unseen power. Michael's concern for her was abruptly interrupted by a chilling rustling sound that sent a shiver down his spine. Reacting with lightning reflexes, Michael instinctively leaned back, his body contorting as an arrow whizzed past him, missing his face by a mere hair's breadth. The arrow buried itself deep into the wall, its presence a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked within the shadowy recesses of the hall. With his senses heightened, Michael scanned the surroundings, his eyes darting from one corner to another, searching for the source of the arrow and the potential threats that lay hidden within the ancient sanctum. As Michael activated his environmental scanning map, he was alarmed to detect hostile entities lurking in the vicinity. Though invisible to his eyes, he could sense their presence through the rustling sounds and the powerful gusts of wind swirling around him. His heightened senses became his guiding compass as he focused on sound and instinct. Drawing his gleaming swords from their sheaths, Michael closed his eyes, relying solely on his sharpened senses. In a swift motion, he unfurled his metal wings, their magnificent expanse shimmering in the dim light of the hall. The clash of metal against wood reverberated through the air as an ephemeral figure, crafted from the very essence of nature, materialized beside him before vanishing into thin air. A voice, both enigmatic and commanding, broke the silence. If you are to face the pantheon, the first god they shall unleash upon you is lightning, the god of speed. With frustration brewing within him, Michael's voice rang out, filled with determination and curiosity. Who the fuck are you? His query hung in the air, unanswered, as a new threat materialized. Reacting swiftly, Michael took cover behind his protective metal wings, the glimmering surface shielding him from an imminent attack. This time, he managed to catch a glimpse of the assailants, peculiar wooden puppets, whose blinding speed rendered them virtually invisible. Who or what I am doesn't concern you, God of Darkness. Instead, focus on the formidable challenge before you. The puppets you currently face are mere fragments of lightning's power. Imagine the magnitude of his true form. You must grow stronger and faster, for this trial marks the beginning of your preparation for the impending battle against the gods. With each relentless strike from the invisible puppets, Michael's wings emitted sparks, bearing witness to the ferocity of their assault. Enough! But in a moment of fierce determination, Michael bellowed, commanding their onslaught to cease. Unleashing the full power of his wings, he sent the wooden puppets hurtling through the air, their hold broken. The hall plunged into an even deeper darkness as Michael invoked the death range, its ominous aura enveloping him. Dark flames swirled around him, serving as an impenetrable shield. Sensing another puppet approaching from behind, he conjured the Sileni's spell, causing time to slow within a meter radius. To his surprise, even within the slowed-down zone, the wooden puppet moved with disorienting speed. Undeterred, Michael swiftly swung his sword at the precise moment, cleaving the puppet in two with a decisive stroke. After Michael cleaved through the first puppet, he focused his gaze on their cultivation stage. As he had anticipated, the puppets emitted a similar energy radiation to that of Rudra. Yet, the intensity of their radiance paled in comparison to the orc possessed by Rudra's sliver of grace. In a flurry of motion, the remaining puppets launched themselves at Michael, their movements invisible to Gaia's eyes. From her perspective, it seemed as though Michael was slashing his swords through empty air, leaving her both amazed and perplexed. As the puppets attacked Michael with astonishing speed, their wooden blades sliced through the air, aiming for his vulnerable spots. Some managed to make contact, their sharp edges grazing his body, but Michael's armor protected him from any serious harm. The metallic plates absorbed the impact, leaving only minor scratches in their wake. Unfazed by the assault, Michael retaliated with a display of his own formidable powers. With a swift motion of his swords, lightning bolts crackled and surged forth from their tips, striking the puppets with electrifying force. The bolts of electricity coursed through their wooden bodies, causing them to convulse and malfunction. Simultaneously, Michael invoked the Sileni's spell once again, creating a localized distortion of time within his immediate vicinity. The slowed-down world granted him enhanced perception, enabling him to dodge the lightning-fast attacks of the remaining puppets with deft precision. His eyes, shining with a dark energy, emitted beams that pierced through the air, disintegrating the puppets in their path. The destructive power of his gaze left trails of dissipating darkness, marking their annihilation. But Michael wasn't finished yet. Drawing upon his inner reservoirs of power, he conjured the Ring of Flames. Black-colored flames erupted from his outstretched hands, forming a fiery vortex that engulfed the area around him. Waves of scorching heat radiated outwards, disintegrating any remnants of the puppets that dared to approach. The battle raged on, an intricate dance between the god of darkness and the seemingly invincible puppets. Michael's movements were fluid and precise, his attacks calculated and devastating. With each passing moment, the puppets dwindled in numbers, their wooden bodies succumbing to the relentless onslaught. The air crackled with energy, illuminated by the flashes of lightning, while the echoes of clashing metal and the roar of flames reverberated throughout the ancient hall. As frustration swelled within Michael, he could no longer contain his pent-up emotions. His voice thundered through the hall. "I am sick of fighting these pointless battles." With a surge of power, he stomped the ground with such force that the very earth quivered beneath him. Cracks spread across the ground like a web, disrupting the puppet's stability and throwing them off balance. Seizing this golden opportunity, Michael propelled himself forward, his speed augmented by his determination. He sprinted towards the shimmering sliver of bright energy that hovered at the center of the hall. With outstretched hand, he reached out and clasped it tightly within his grasp. As his fingers closed around the pulsating sliver, a surge of energy coursed through Michael's body. It was as if he had tapped into a wellspring of power that resonated with his very essence. The radiance of the energy seeped into his being, empowering him with renewed strength and resolve. The puppets, momentarily stunned by the ground-shaking impact and their sudden loss of balance, struggled to regain their composure. But it was too late. Michael's swift and decisive action had secured the coveted sliver of energy, a crucial step towards his ultimate goal. The moment Michael touched the sliver of energy, he felt a gush of hot wave in his body. Soon he heard the system's voice. Absorbing lightning sliver of grace. Absorbing energy. Converting the grace energy into experience points. Experience points converted 200,000. Experience points converted 600,000. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half celestial stage level 3. The system absorbed the energy like crazy, and the more the system absorbed the energy from the sliver of grace, the weaker the puppets became and fell to their demise. Once all the puppets were fallen, the system talked to Michael once again. Congratulations to the host for acquiring another seed of darkness. The host now has 2 seeds of darkness and will be able to start the ascension to the next godhood level demigod. The system recommends the host step into the celestial stage before starting the ascension. What is this trial and what's the point of all this? Michael asked the system. An ally of your previous self created this trial. Unfortunately, this ally was madly in love with your previous self, so she made the trial easy. The system can sense her presence. What the? Michael was taken aback by surprise and instinctively looked around. Is she watching me right now? And who is she? Michael asked the system. The system can sense her presence. Your previous self used her to make this trial easier for you to level up faster. But the upcoming trials won't be as easy as this. To reach the 3rd stage of your godhood, you are required to acquire 3 seeds of darkness. Before Michael could ask more about this unknown ally who was in mad love with the previous Dark Lord, the system changed the topic. When will you come out of offline permanently? The host needs to acquire 1 more seed of darkness to enable the system to harvest experience points in offline mode. Once the host reaches the celestial stage, the system will come out of offline permanently and will not go offline again. 1 more chapter, and we will reach 1,000 chapter mark. Thank you, my wonderful readers, for keep supporting me. Sorry, this chapter got dragged on as this chapter flesh out the details for the future chapters. This is the filler chapter for the next arc, and the next arc will have so much actions and a fast-paced story. Chapter 1000. Infiltrating the Sky Hall Eye. After harnessing the empowering energy of the sliver, Michael turned his attention to the system store. With his accumulated badass points, he swiftly purchased a special teleportation scroll and a potent rune to conceal Gaia's presence from the prying eyes of the fallen gods. The transaction depleted a significant portion of his hard-earned points, but he knew these items would be crucial for their upcoming missions. Gaia, fully aware of the importance of her role, prepared to depart from the inner sanctum. She clasped the rune in her hand, feeling its ancient power resonate within her. With a nod of determination, she stepped onto the designated teleportation circle, activating the scroll. A brilliant surge of energy engulfed her, and in an instant, she vanished from the hall before giving Michael a tender kiss on his lips. Stepping out of the hall, Michael found himself face to face with the black door he had melted earlier. To his surprise, the door opened on its own accord, allowing him to exit. As he emerged from the cave, his environmental scanning map alerted him to the presence of hostile entities in the vicinity. Reacting swiftly, Michael utilized his lightning dash ability, moving with incredible speed towards the cave opening. Once he reached the mouth of the cave, the Sky Hall soldiers who had been stationed at the outpost lay lifeless on the ground, their bodies riddled with bloody wounds. The devastating effects of the poison he had unleashed upon them were evident. The sight of the fallen soldiers left the surviving Sky Hall soldiers in a state of terror and shock. They gazed upon the grim scene, their faces etched with a mix of fear and disbelief. Michael's poison had taken its toll, and the soldiers lay motionless, their life forces drained away. The air hung heavy with the stench of blood, and a haunting silence enveloped the area. The Sky Hall soldiers stood frozen in shock and disbelief as they beheld the lifeless bodies of their fallen comrades. They gathered around, their faces filled with a mix of horror and confusion. One soldier exclaimed, "What happened here? How did they all die?" Another soldier knelt down beside a fallen comrade, examining the gruesome wounds on his body. "Look at this," he said, his voice trembling with disbelief. "There are no signs of a fight. It's like they were struck down without even raising a sword." A third soldier joined the examination, his eyes widening with realization. "Wait, these wounds, they look like the effects of poison," he said, his voice hushed. "But how? Who could have done this?" The soldiers exchanged worried glances, their minds racing to piece together the puzzle before them. One soldier spoke up, his voice laced with urgency. We need to alert the Sky Hall elders immediately. Something sinister has happened here, and we must seek their counsel. Nods of agreement rippled through the group as they realized the gravity of the situation. They had stumbled upon a deadly trap, their comrades falling victim to an unseen enemy. Fear and confusion gripped their hearts as they prepared to carry the news to the elders, hoping to unravel the mystery of their fallen brethren and discover the true nature of the threat that lurked in the shadows. Michael concealed himself in the shadowy depths of the cave, his eyes fixed on the group of Sky Hall soldiers. Curiosity gripped him as he wondered about how they came here and how they intended to return to their fortress in the sky. A soldier's gaze scanned the area, briefly falling upon the mouth of the cave. Michael swiftly ducked behind a stack of crates, blending seamlessly with the darkness. The thought of effortlessly dispatching these soldiers crossed his mind, but he resisted the temptation. Instead, he desired to uncover their method of returning to the Sky Hall. If they possessed a portal or means of transport, it could provide him with a valuable opportunity to infiltrate the heart of the enemy. With caution and patience, Michael observed their movements, eagerly anticipating a glimpse of their plans. Hidden in the shadows, he remained vigilant, his mind focused on unraveling the secrets that lay before him. Silently, Michael maneuvered through the outpost, utilizing the various objects scattered throughout to conceal himself from the vigilant Sky Hall soldiers. He expertly slipped behind tents, carefully sidestepped boxes, and found refuge amidst the dummies, tables, and chairs. With each movement, he blended seamlessly into his surroundings, becoming one with the shadows. Hidden behind a stack of crates, Michael listened intently to the soldiers as they continued to examine the lifeless bodies of their fallen comrades. The sight of purple veins, blood seeping from eyes, nose, and ears sent shivers down their spines. What manner of death is this? It's gruesome and painful. One soldier growled, his voice filled with anger. Indeed, this is no honorable death. It reeks of foul play. Another soldier spat, voicing his disgust. Amidst their murmurs and expressions of dismay, some soldiers raised their voices, urging their comrades to stay vigilant, aware that the killer may still be lurking in their midst. Keep your guard up. The perpetrator may be among us. Stay alert. A soldier shouted, his tone laced with urgency. Meanwhile, a group of soldiers was ordered to venture into the cave for further investigation. Their voices resonated through the air as they strategized their next move. Go, see what lies within the cave. We must uncover the truth. One soldier commanded, determination evident in his voice. The rest of us will make our way back to the Sky Hall and inform the elders of this atrocity. Their footsteps echoed as they departed, leaving Michael with a valuable window of opportunity. He silently observed their departure, noting their destination and their purpose. With this newfound knowledge, he formulated his own plan, his mind focused on the ultimate goal of infiltrating the Sky Hall and uncovering the mysteries that awaited him there. With unwavering determination, Michael fixated his gaze on the group of soldiers who were bound for the Sky Hall. He knew that shadowing them would be his best chance to penetrate deeper into enemy territory. As they began their march, Michael melded into the darkness, becoming a mere specter among the shadows. Moving with the grace of a predator, Michael skillfully navigated the outpost, his steps almost imperceptible as he avoided the gazes of the remaining soldiers. He hugged the walls, slipping behind tents and crates, always mindful of staying out of sight. His heart pounded in his chest, the adrenaline surging through his veins as he inched closer to his quarry. Every so often, he caught a glimpse of the soldiers he was tailing. Their voices murmured among themselves, discussing their mission and the urgency to report the grim discovery they had made. Michael stayed just far enough behind to remain undetected, his stealth a testament to his honed skills. The tension in the air was palpable as Michael maneuvered through the treacherous terrain, silently praying that the soldiers wouldn't glance back and catch a glimpse of his presence. He relied on his instincts, slipping into the darkest corners, blending seamlessly with the obscurity. The outpost seemed to hold its breath as Michael shadowed his targets, his movements choreographed with precision and caution. As Michael trailed the trio of Sky Hall soldiers, they came across a small cabin in the distance. Coming to a stop, they glanced back, suspicious of any followers. Sensing their scrutiny, Michael swiftly maneuvered under a nearby table, inadvertently knocking a wooden cup. Acting with lightning reflexes, he managed to catch the cup before it hit the ground and made a noise. Meanwhile, the soldiers scanned their surroundings before resuming their path towards the cabin. Seizing the opportunity, Michael emerged from beneath the table and hastened forward. Approaching the cabin's entrance, Michael positioned himself outside and discreetly eavesdropped on the soldiers' conversation. "He won't be pleased with this," remarked one soldier from inside. "I still think we should return after uncovering the source of these killings. Going back empty-handed could land us in serious trouble," complained another soldier. As he listened intently, Michael retrieved his trusty 8-legged spider and discreetly sent it into the cabin through a narrow crack beneath the door. Observing the scene through the spider's camera feed, Michael caught sight of the 3 soldiers within the cabin. "No way. We have to inform him immediately." "Let's activate the portal," insisted the brown-haired Sky Hall soldier. With mere seconds, or at best a minute, to make a decision, Michael weighed his options carefully. Killing the 3 soldiers might sever his only chance of reaching the Sky Hall. Until now, he had been clueless about the actual location of the Sky Hall headquarters, and he lacked the necessary power. However, things had changed, and he now possessed the strength and perhaps an opportunity to enter the heart of the enemy. Yet, if he wasted time without eliminating the soldiers, they could vanish from his sight, leaving him in the dark. Michael had only a few precious seconds to uncover their plan for reaching the Sky Hall. Fortunately, luck was on his side as he witnessed one of the Sky Hall soldiers retrieve a silver coin from his pocket. The copper coin bore a striking resemblance to the one he had taken from Jacobus' brother. Read Chapter 838 to refresh your memories about this copper coin. Michael observed a rune on the wooden cabin wall, resembling a swirling vortex, before the soldier. Though he wasn't a rune master, his experience with Eladir had granted him some knowledge. It seemed that the coin needed to be placed on the rune to activate a portal, the probable means of teleportation. However, the predicament lay in the fact that if the soldiers placed the coin on the rune, they would be whisked away, leaving Michael with no means of reaching the Sky Hall. To prevent this, he swiftly cast the Silene spell, causing time to slow down within a confined bubble encompassing him and the soldiers. With the soldiers frozen in time, Michael sprang into action. He deftly unsheathed his dark sword from his back and swiftly severed the hand of the soldier holding the copper coin. The slowed time prevented blood from spraying or the soldier's scream from escaping his lips. Michael then swung his sword again, beheading the soldier, while simultaneously releasing a bolt of lightning from his outstretched finger, piercing the skull of the second soldier. With a swift motion, he cleaved the 3rd soldier in half with his sword. As the 3rd soldier perished, time resumed its normal flow, revealing the brutal aftermath in real time. Blood sprayed from the severed hand and neck of the 1st soldier, while his decapitated head flew through the air. The 2nd soldier fell lifeless, a small wisp of smoke rising from the center of his forehead, indicating where the lightning bolt had struck. The 3rd soldier lay on the ground, bisected, blood staining the cabin red. However, not a single sound escaped, and no reinforcements rushed to their aid. The coin soared through the air, effortlessly caught by Michael's outstretched hand. Without wasting a moment, he pressed the skull-shaped engraving at the center of his armor. In a mesmerizing display, the armor began to shrink, folding in on itself until it vanished completely, leaving behind only a small skull. This remarkable ability was a testament to Michael's exceptional forging skills and his unique inventor trait. Swiftly, Michael stowed the skull into his system storage, a hidden compartment capable of holding various items. He then knelt beside the fallen soldier, the one whose head had been pierced by the lethal lightning bolt. Purposefully, he chose not to employ his dark sword, as he had a different plan in mind. With practiced efficiency, Michael stripped the soldier of his garments and carefully donned the soldier's silver armor atop his own attire, meticulously blending into the guise of a Sky Hall soldier. Then, He took out a pale brown potion from the system storage and drank it in one gulp. "I'm coming for you, Sky Hall," Michael muttered, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. With a hint of anger flickering, he confidently positioned the coin on the shimmering rune. In an instant, a brilliant light erupted from the rune as the coin made contact, whisking Michael away from the cabin in a flash of teleportation. "We have reached the mark of 1,000 chapters, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you all for keep supporting me, and I pray and wish for your continuous support. Now, where are my super gifts and awesome other gifts? Wink wink shamelessly." Chapter 1001. Infiltrating the Sky Hall 2 in an instant, Michael found himself standing in a vast hall that made him feel incredibly small. The sheer size of the hall was awe-inspiring, with a towering ceiling that could easily accommodate a 10-story building. As he entered the Sky Hall, Michael noticed that the potion he had consumed had caused his beard to grow thick and bushy, and his hair had lengthened into flowing black locks. Although venturing into the heart of the enemy without any prior knowledge was undeniably risky, Michael saw it as a golden opportunity to gather valuable information and, if he was fortunate, disrupt their operations from within. Gathering his wits, Michael began to walk with purpose, attempting to blend in as if he belonged there. His destination was the sole door located at the far end of the expansive hall. To his surprise, there were no soldiers present in this immense space. However, his curiosity was swiftly satisfied when a group of soldiers materialized out of thin air, utilizing the power of teleportation. This group consisted of 5 soldiers, burdened with an intriguing ancient coffin. The coffin itself had an unmistakable air of antiquity, adorned with intricate runes etched in an unknown language. Weathered cracks marred its surface, and a layer of mud clung to its exterior. "Demon body," Michael whispered to himself, recalling the memories of Sky Hall angels unearthing caskets containing demons' remains and transporting them to this very place. Now, he had confirmation that this was the destination for those eerie coffins. As the group of soldiers carried the heavy coffin, Michael observed them closely. Their entire bodies were covered in gleaming silver armor, with only narrow eye openings in their helmets, preventing Michael from seeing their faces. "Hey you!" One of the soldiers suddenly called out, his gaze fixed on Michael. "Come here," the soldier ordered, prompting Michael to swiftly comply. "Give us a hand. This thing is ridiculously heavy," the soldier requested, and Michael inwardly sighed with relief. Nodding in agreement, Michael positioned himself at the back of the coffin and grasped it firmly. To his surprise, the coffin proved to be exceptionally weighty, confirming why these fusion stage soldiers required additional assistance. Unbeknownst to them, Michael intentionally concealed his true cultivation stage, disguising himself as a mere soul-refining stage soldier. It was crucial to maintain his cover, as revealing his half-celestial stage power would immediately expose his true identity. Even though the coffin was light as a feather to Michael's immense strength, he purposely pretended to struggle, exerting effort as if it were a formidable task. He lifted the coffin alongside the others, maintaining the facade. "Theta M, which outpost were you stationed at?" one of the armored soldiers inquired, curious about Michael's assignment. "I was stationed at the outpost in Itnes," Michael replied, listening attentively as the armored soldiers let out sighs of envy. "Damn lucky bastard. We were out there in demons' graves, tirelessly digging for these cursed things." Another soldier grumbled, revealing their arduous duty. "Not so lucky, I'm afraid. Before our rotation, someone mercilessly killed the soldiers who were stationed there. I was on my way to inform the elders," Michael lied convincingly, portraying a loyal soldier deeply affected by the shocking incident. "What? Why didn't you mention it earlier?" one of the armored soldiers exclaimed, clearly taken aback by the revelation. "All right, the toxic removal room is just over there. Once we place this coffin there, you can go and inform the elders," another soldier instructed, pointing towards their destination. Internally, Michael despised this risky plan. He had no knowledge of the layout or security measures in this place, making it a leap of faith. He relied solely on his adaptability and the teleportation scroll safely stored in his system storage, serving as a potential means of escape if things took a turn for the worse. This was the first time Michael had ventured into such perilous territory, fully aware of the stakes involved. Michael nodded in acknowledgement, observing the soldiers hasten their steps. As they reached the door, it automatically slid open, revealing a sprawling corridor lined with numerous rooms on both sides. Stepping out, Michael found himself amidst a bustling scene. Soldiers of various races, adorned in diverse armors, moved with purpose through the corridor, entering and exiting rooms with remarkable precision. However, what truly caught Michael's attention was the archway positioned at the far end of the corridor, through which the soldiers were passing. Glowing runes adorned the arch, indicating some form of detection or defensive array. Michael's instincts told him that these runes might unveil his true identity, exposing his disguise. He swiftly assessed the situation, his mind working at its peak as he devised a new plan to navigate through the potential threat. As the armored soldiers continued carrying the coffin, they approached a room labeled Toxin Removal. "Remember, don't mention that we kept you here, all right?" One of the soldiers cautioned. "Of course not. We soldiers have to stick together, right?" Michael responded, skillfully manipulating their emotions. Although his words were calculated, they held a deeper purpose. Having observed the angels handling the coffins during the excavation, Michael deduced that these armored soldiers were likely under their command. If the angels had been directly involved, he would have witnessed their presence. Dressed as a foot soldier himself, Michael sympathized with his companions, reinforcing a sense of camaraderie. Fortunately, his manipulation proved successful, and the soldiers opened the door. To Michael's astonishment, instead of a mere room, he beheld a vast warehouse stretching before him. Countless coffins were meticulously stacked within, numbering in the hundreds or even thousands. At the far end of the room, he noticed a tubular structure, from which an invisible force lifted the coffins, propelling them along the tube-like pathway. "Well placed here." One of the armored soldiers pointed to a vacant spot that perfectly matched the size of the coffin. With coordinated efforts, the group of 6 carefully positioned the coffin in its designated spot. "Finished. Now, well, return to the demon's grave and you can inform your elder," stated one of the soldiers, to which Michael nodded in agreement. Walking alongside the soldiers, Michael seized the opportunity as they approached the door. Swiftly, he retrieved a small metal plate from his belongings and discreetly inserted it between the door and its frame, ensuring that it wouldn't close completely. The soldiers remained oblivious to his actions, and as they reached the corridor, they expressed their gratitude to Michael for his assistance before proceeding back towards the door they had initially come through. Once they were out of sight, creating the impression that he would fulfill his supposed duty of informing the elder, Michael surveyed his surroundings cautiously. Confirming that he was alone, he reopened the door and re-entered the coffin warehouse. Closing the door behind him, Michael activated his X-ray vision, granting him the ability to see through the coffins. As expected, each coffin contained the skeletal remains of demons. Michael's face contorted with a mixture of surprise and concern. They must have some sinister plans involving these bodies. If only I had a means to teleport them elsewhere, Michael muttered to himself. However, he recognized that his current abilities did not grant him such power, at least until the system was restored. Aware of the limited time he had before someone might stumble upon the room, Michael sprang into action. He swiftly retrieved a handful of spiders and strategically launched them toward the upper walls and concealed corners of the room. These spiders would function as his personal surveillance cameras, transmitting live footage to the dark castle and his tablet. After deploying more spiders to gather valuable information, Michael hastened toward the tubular structure that served as a pathway to another location. With swiftness, he affixed a spider onto one of the coffins, which was gradually lifted from the ground by an unseen force. As the coffin entered the tubular passage, Michael observed the spider's live feed in his mind. Within the feed, he witnessed the coffin arriving in a room where several individuals dressed in white robes meticulously examined its contents. They scribbled notes, assigned numbers to the coffins, and then directed them to be transported elsewhere. "Number 422 in pristine condition," a bespectacled man remarked, thoroughly inspecting the coffin adorned with the tiny spider. "Send it to the rising hall," commanded a young man, waving his hand to guide the coffin to a designated corner of the room. "Fuck it!" Frustration surged within Michael as he absorbed this information. His attention swiftly turned to the next coffin awaiting levitation and inspection. Without hesitation, Michael swiftly slid open the top of the coffin, allowing ancient dust and trapped air to escape into the surroundings. Within, he discovered the skeleton of a demon. Realizing time was of the essence, Michael made a split-second decision. He leaped into the coffin and swiftly closed its lid, ensconcing himself within its confines. After a few moments, Michael sensed the coffin being lifted from the ground, smoothly gliding through the tubular passage. So far, everything was proceeding without a hitch, and he silently prayed for this streak of good fortune to persist. As the coffin reached the subsequent room, the young man proceeded to examine its contents. From within the coffin, Michael could audibly hear and visually witness the unfolding events, thanks to the spider serving as his eyes and ears. "Number 423 in mint condition," the young man remarked, jotting down meticulous notes and affixing a number to the coffin, just as he had done previously. "Send this one to the rising hall," he directed, finalizing his assessment. Inside the confines of the coffin, Michael regulated his breathing and slowed his heartbeat to ensure his survival in the cramped space. As an undisclosed amount of time passed, a sudden and deafening bell echoed throughout the hall. Through the eyes of the spider, Michael witnessed a burst of red light illuminating the room. The abrupt alarm sent the workers into a state of panic, their voices filled with confusion and concern. "What's happening? Is it an emergency? Something's wrong. We need to evacuate. Quick, follow the protocol. Everyone out of the room." The room erupted into chaos as the workers hurriedly scrambled towards the exit, their movements hasty and disoriented. They hastily abandoned their tasks, leaving behind scattered notes and tools, as they adhered to their emergency procedures. The air filled with a sense of urgency and apprehension, with anxious voices overlapping and the sound of hurried footsteps reverberating throughout the room. Michael found himself bewildered and amazed by his stroke of luck. Taking control of the spider outside the coffin, he deftly directed it to jump onto the back of a young man who was hastily making his way out of the room. Oblivious to the tiny spider clinging to his back, the young man continued his frantic rush. As Michael observed the chaotic corridor outside, he witnessed a scene of turmoil and confusion. Soldiers were sprinting in every direction, the entire hall trembling under their hurried footsteps. Moreover, a sudden eruption of destruction caught Michael's attention. A brilliant beam of light demolished everything in its path, reducing carpets to ashes and reducing once beautiful portraits to mere rubble. The archway, adorned with intricate runes, exploded in a haze of smoke. The young man and several other workers, guided by Sky Hall soldiers, sprinted away from the crumbling arch, seeking safety. Focused on capturing the unfolding chaos, Michael instructed the spider to leap from the young man's back to the nearby wall, diligently recording every detail. Amidst the billowing smoke, a figure gradually emerged, distinct even in the obscured atmosphere. "Noah," Michael murmured, recognizing the familiar presence. Chapter 1002. Finding Noah. As Michael witnessed the sight of Noah surrounded by the fusion stage Sky Hall soldiers, he noticed a fierce determination in Noah's eyes. They blazed with an intense, pure white light, a testament to his inner power. Standing there with his muscular frame and bare-chested, clad only in white trousers, Noah exuded an aura of strength. The Sky Hall soldiers, realizing the formidable opponent before them, shouted commands at Noah, their voices tinged with a mix of urgency and authority. "Stand down, Noah. Surrender peacefully," one soldier barked, his voice filled with a hint of fear. "You're outnumbered, Noah. There's no escape," another soldier called out, his tone laced with a mix of bravado and caution. Yet, Noah remained resolute, his fists clenched tightly. He stood tall, unwavering, as if rooted to the ground. The white light in his eyes intensified, a reflection of his unwavering determination and unyielding spirit. The Sky Hall soldiers cautiously circled Noah, their weapons drawn and ready for any sign of aggression. Tension hung heavy in the air as both sides stood at the precipice of confrontation. As Noah's eyes burned with pure white light, he channeled his inner power, snapping his fingers with a resounding crack. In an instant, a powerful wave of light erupted from his fingertips, radiating outward like a brilliant shockwave. The force of the blast sent the Sky Hall soldiers surrounding him hurtling through the air, their bodies tumbling and crashing into the walls with a cacophony of impacts. Seizing the opportunity amidst the chaos, Michael swiftly assessed the situation. He realized that Noah, somehow brought to the Sky Hall while he was unconscious, had tapped into a newfound strength, perhaps granted to him by his grace. Though questions and theories swirled in Michael's mind, he pushed them aside, recognizing the golden chance to infiltrate the Sky Hall further while the soldiers were preoccupied with Noah. With a surge of determination, Michael seized the moment and leaped out of the coffin, his stealth and agility aiding his escape from its confining embrace. He blended into the tumultuous scene, taking advantage of the soldiers' diverted attention. As Michael stepped into the corridor, he found himself face to face with Noah, the only two figures standing amidst the chaos. They locked eyes, a silent recognition passing between them. Without uttering a word, Noah raised his hand, and from his fingertips shot forth a bolt of white lightning, crackling with immense power. The lightning streaked towards Michael, who swiftly reacted by stomping the ground, causing a fallen Sky Hall soldier's shield to soar into his hand. With the shield raised, Michael braced himself as the lightning collided with it. The impact sent a jolt of force rippling through Michael's body, pushing him back several steps. In the brief moment of respite, Michael wasted no time. He seized the opportunity and, with quick thinking, snatched up a gleaming golden spear from the ground. Infusing his own energy into the weapon, he hurled it toward Noah. However, Noah responded with another surge of white lightning. The opposing energies clashed fiercely in the middle of the corridor, creating a cataclysmic explosion of light and darkness. The sheer intensity of the collision reverberated through the air, shaking the very foundation of the hallway. In an instant, the explosion unleashed a devastating impact, shattering the corridor into fragments. The force of the explosion shattered walls, fractured floors, and sent debris flying in all directions. The ground beneath Michael trembled and cracked, and with no time to react, he found himself plunging into the depths below, swallowed by the gaping abyss. The ensuing chaos enveloped the scene, dust billowing through the air and flames licking at the remnants of the shattered corridor, casting an eerie glow amidst the wreckage. As Michael descended into the depths, darkness enveloped him, and he found himself in a dark place. Looking up, he noticed a small crack above, a reminder of the great distance he had fallen. The realization struck him that he must have plummeted quite deeply for the once sizable crack to appear so minuscule. Contemplating his next move, he prepared to take flight towards the opening when he suddenly felt a hand rest on his back. A shiver ran down his spine, yet his surroundings showed no signs of hostility on his environmental map. Acting swiftly, he spun around and delivered a forceful punch to the figure behind him. To his surprise, his fist met an icy-cold resistance as if striking a frozen entity. It was then that Michael became aware of the hall he stood in, a grim scene that resembled a macabre meat factory. The ceiling above was adorned with countless dead bodies, suspended by hooks like grotesque trophies. Conjuring a small ball of light to illuminate his surroundings, Michael's eyes widened in disbelief at the haunting sight that unfolded before him. He stood amidst a chamber filled with an unsettling array of corpses. Overwhelmed by shock, he aimlessly ventured forward, his mind struggling to comprehend the reasoning behind the Sky Hall's collection of these lifeless forms. As he wandered through the eerie expanse for what felt like an eternity, his senses were further assaulted by an even more chilling discovery. Among the rows of bodies, he caught sight of a fallen Guardian Guild member, their silver armor still adorning their skeletal remains. The symbol of the Guardian Guild, etched on the chest plate, stood as a grim reminder of the once noble purpose this fallen warrior had served. The body appeared burnt and mutilated, a missing limb serving as a testament to the brutality it had endured. As Michael ventured deeper into the Hall of Death, the air grew heavy with the distinct metallic scent of blood. It permeated the space, creating an atmosphere of dread and morbidity. Each lifeless body within the chamber appeared eerily frozen, preserved in a macabre tableau. Their vacant eyes stared into nothingness, frozen expressions of despair etched upon their faces. The grisly display of bodies hanging from hooks suspended by bars above was a harrowing sight to behold. The hooks had been ruthlessly driven into the necks of the deceased, transforming them into grotesque marionettes dangling grotesquely in the dimly lit chamber. The cold, lifeless forms swayed ever so slightly, casting ghostly shadows that danced along the walls. As Michael's gaze wandered among the macabre scene, his heart sank with a growing realization. The fallen guardians, their armor once a symbol of honor and protection, now served as a haunting reminder of the devastation he had unwittingly caused. It became evident that these were the very guardians he had fought against, the ones who had perished when he unleashed destruction upon the Guardian Guild. Michael quickly established contact with his loyal servant, Eladir. It was unusual for Michael to reach out to Eladir instead of his trusted demon butler, Azazel. However, Azazel had been inaccessible since his arrival in Aitnes, leaving Eladir as the next best option. "Eladir, it's urgent," Michael began, his voice filled with a sense of urgency. He wasted no time in relaying the gravity of his discovery. "Use your mirror and witness what I've stumbled upon." With the spider on his neck capturing every detail, Michael transmitted the live feed to Eladir's mirror, ensuring that his loyal servant could witness the shocking scene. Eladir took a moment to process the incoming stream, and as the images unfolded before his eyes, a gasp of disbelief escaped his lips. The sheer horror of what he was witnessing rendered him momentarily speechless. He couldn't fathom the depths of the atrocities that lay within the Sky Hall. "My lord, where are you?" Eladir's voice trembled, his shock palpable even through the communication device. "Sky Hall," Michael replied, his tone revealing the weight of the situation. The silence that followed spoke volumes, as Eladir's mind grappled with the magnitude of the revelation. Time was of the essence, and Michael knew it. "We don't have much time for discussion," he declared in a resolute tone. "Record everything I see." Concern for his master's safety welled up within Eladir. "My lord, you must escape that place. The dangers are unknown, and we lack knowledge of the layout and security measures in the Sky Hall," he urged, his primary concern focused on Michael's well-being. But Michael's determination remained unyielding. "No, this is a rare opportunity to infiltrate the Sky Hall. Something sinister is unfolding within its walls. They have plundered the Nether Realm, then collected demons' corpses from demon graves, and now they amass these corpses. I cannot allow this army of the undead to be raised against me," he explained, his voice tinged with a sense of responsibility and the urgency to take action. Michael understood the immense potential the dead bodies held. If given the chance, he could have sent them to Dalar, where they could be transformed into an obedient undead army, serving him faithfully. However, without the means to do so, he couldn't allow the Sky Hall to exploit these bodies and create their own formidable force. "I know the Sky Hall all too well," Michael replied, acknowledging Eladir's concern. "They will undoubtedly turn these corpses into undead beings or something even more sinister," he added with a heavy sigh. Realizing the imminent threat, Michael was resolute in his decision. "That's precisely why I must destroy these bodies," he declared. While he didn't want to obliterate the demon bodies, given their rarity and potential value, he needed to find a way to utilize them to turn the tides against the Sky Hall once the system came online. Without wasting any time, Michael retrieved a container filled with highly flammable liquid from his system storage. He hurled the container into the air, causing it to burst open, and unleashed a bolt of lightning from his fingertips. The resulting explosion sent the liquid raining down upon the lifeless bodies below, thoroughly drenching them in the volatile substance. Satisfied that every body had been soaked, Michael sought an exit and discovered a door leading to an unknown hall. Before venturing further, He activated his X-ray vision to scan the next hall, revealing no signs of life. However, the absence of life was not enough to put his mind at ease. This place had shocked him repeatedly, and he remained prepared for any unexpected encounter. With a firm twist, Michael broke the lock and swung the door open. Simultaneously, he flicked his finger toward the drenched bodies, igniting a slender flame that danced through the air. Upon contact with the flammable liquid, the flame instantly erupted into a raging fire, engulfing the dead bodies in its relentless embrace. The crackling of flames filled the air, accompanied by the acrid scent of burning flesh, as the inferno consumed the corpses with a ferocity akin to a wild wildfire. The Sky Hall was facing a dire situation, with both Noah wreaking havoc from above and Michael setting ablaze the amassed bodies below. Noah's destruction had managed to disable the defense arrays, granting Michael a chance to venture deeper into the Sky Hall undetected. As Michael moved into the next hall, he encountered a stark contrast to the previous chamber. This expansive hall was devoid of any bodies or significant objects. It stood empty, an open space stretching out before him. Suddenly, the echoing sound of hurried footsteps reached Michael's ears. Reacting swiftly, he propelled himself off the ground with a single powerful leap, effortlessly scaling the walls to position himself on the ceiling, much like a spider observing its surroundings. From this vantage point, he watched as several soldiers, donned in dark armor, rushed into the hall with urgency. As the soldiers rushed into the hall, their footsteps echoed through the empty space. Their urgent voices filled the air as they realized the gravity of the situation. The leader of the group, distinguished by the golden lines adorning his black armor, barked out orders with authority. "Move quickly. We have a fire to extinguish," the leader commanded, his voice resonating with a sense of urgency. The soldiers hurriedly made their way toward the next chamber, their voices blending in a chorus of confusion and concern. "How did the fire start?" one soldier questioned, his voice tinged with bewilderment. "Could it be from the battle above with Noah?" suggested another soldier, trying to make sense of the situation. Amidst the rush, a soldier dared to question the decision of the Sky Hall elders. "Why did the elders keep Noah's presence hidden from us? If we had known, maybe we could have been better prepared," he exclaimed, frustration lacing his words. The higher-ranking soldier, displaying unwavering resolve, swiftly shut down any thoughts of questioning. "There is no time for that now. Our priority is to put out this fire and secure the Sky Hall. We can't waste time pondering the elders' decisions," he declared, emphasizing the need for immediate action. Their hurried voices echoed through the hall as they moved closer to the chamber, unaware of the raging inferno that awaited them. As Michael observed the soldiers rushing towards the chamber where the fire consumed the bodies, a sinister figure entered the room. This man was adorned in a dark gray garment, complemented by black gloves and boots. His appearance sent shivers down the spine, for his face exuded an aura of pure malevolence. The man's bald head gleamed under the dim light, accentuating his skeletal features. His thin, almost emaciated visage lacked any semblance of flesh, with thin brown skin stretched tightly across his skull-like face. The man's yellowed teeth, crooked and stained, added to his eerie countenance. His sinister presence was accentuated by the absence of eyebrows, leaving his eyes cold and piercing. As he arrived in the hall, he took a moment to sniff the air, his senses attuned to the scent of death that permeated the space. "I smell death in here," the man spoke, his voice sending a chilling shiver through the air. Chapter 1003. Cruelty of the Sky Hall. Michael clung to the ceiling, his gaze fixed on the bald and eerie man as he scanned the hall. With a sudden movement, the man's eyes flicked upward, but to his dismay, he found nothing but empty space above. Michael, swift as a spider, had deftly evaded his gaze. Meanwhile, the soldiers returned to the hall, carrying a lifeless body with them. The rest of the soldiers remained busy, attempting to cast spells and activate safety runes in an effort to extinguish the fire. However, their efforts proved futile against the flammable liquid that Michael had drenched the bodies with. The flames continued to dance and rage, defying all attempts to be subdued. The soldiers carefully laid the charred body on the ground, its once vibrant form now reduced to a blackened husk. Smoke curled upwards from the smoldering remains, filling the air with an acrid scent that hung heavy in the hall. Ashes fell gently, cascading down like black snowflakes, remnants of what once was. It was a stark reminder of the destructive power that had been unleashed upon the corpses in the adjacent chamber. The flames had consumed them with an intensity that left no trace of their former selves, transforming them into mere ashes and smoke. The creepy man crouched down beside the burnt body, his nose almost touching the charred flesh. It was an eerie sight, reminiscent of a predator savoring its prey. Even though the soldiers wore heavy armor that concealed their expressions, the tension in the air was palpable, and Michael sensed their discomfort. Unexpectedly, the man sniffed the entire length of the body, his actions resembling someone indulging in a forbidden pleasure. This sent a shiver down Michael's spine, as he watched from his vantage point on the ceiling. "I smell something. Something peculiar. A primordial flame." The man spoke, his words carrying a strange mix of curiosity and anticipation. His revelation startled Michael, leaving him intrigued and unnerved. One of the soldiers, attempting to shed light on the situation, spoke up. "Elder Noah used his primordial flames during the battle above." The man paused, his brows furrowing as he considered the soldier's words. "I don't detect Noah's presence in these bodies. This is the work of another force entirely. There's no point in trying to extinguish the fire. It's beyond our control. Someone has dealt a devastating blow to Elder Gravesinger's operation," he concluded, rising to his feet with a sense of urgency and purpose. Michael absorbed their conversation, realizing the gravity of the situation. It seemed that his actions, combined with Noah's fiery display above, had disrupted the Sky Hall's plans. Despite the risks involved, Michael felt a sense of satisfaction for successfully infiltrating the Sky Hall. Not only had he thwarted their plans of building an army, but he was also gaining insights into the strength of the Sky Hall. The creepy elder's presence confirmed his suspicions. This elder possessed immortality, making him a formidable adversary. However, something about the elder's demeanor unsettled Michael, creating a deep sense of unease. "Now, it is time for someone to be held accountable for this grave loss," the elder commanded the two soldiers standing before him, his voice sending a chilling shiver down Michael's spine. The elder's words held an ominous weight, as if someone would soon face dire consequences for their failure. Michael observed the scene from above, remaining hidden, and sensed the soldiers' uneasiness as they received their orders. The two soldiers retrieved a small orb from their pockets, which fit snugly in the palm of their hands. With a sense of urgency, they activated the orb, causing it to glow and pulsate with a vibrant energy. Michael watched as the orb illuminated the room, casting an ethereal glow across the hall. Suddenly, a voice emanated from the orb, resonating with a faint echo. "Squadron 12, report to the Hall of Runework immediately." The voice commanded, its urgency evident. Michael listened intently, hidden from sight, as the voice continued. "Most of the squadron is injured from their encounter with Noah. Proceed with caution." The creepy elder's eyes narrowed, a sinister smile playing across his face. "Send all of them regardless of their injuries," he declared in a bone-chilling tone, relishing the opportunity for further mayhem. Moments later, a group of 6 soldiers entered the hall, adorned in tattered silver robes that bore the marks of their battle with Noah. The robes were torn, bearing scorch marks and stains of blood. Fatigue weighed heavily upon their features, their bodies marked with bruises, and their hair disheveled from the intensity of their recent struggle. The soldiers stood before the elder, their weary gazes meeting his malevolent stare. The tension in the air was palpable as the elder prepared to address them, his voice dripping with a twisted enthusiasm for the impending task at hand. The elder's eyes narrowed further as he stared at the soldiers, a chilling aura surrounding him. "Explain yourselves," he demanded, his voice laced with an unsettling mix of anger and curiosity. Why did you leave your posts where you were supposed to guard the corpses for Elder Gravesinger? The soldiers, trembling with fear, stuttered in their response. We heard commotion above and went to investigate. One of them managed to utter, his voice quivering. We found Noah and we fought him to try and stop him. The elder's eyes gleamed with a sinister light as he circled around the soldiers, sniffing the air around them as though he was enjoying the fear in the air. And were you able to stop Noah from escaping the sky hall? He asked, his voice dripping with anticipation. The soldiers, their voices barely audible, whispered in unison. No. A devilish chuckle escaped the elder's lips as he continued to circle the soldiers, his presence oozing malevolence. Then what was the point of leaving your post? He hissed, relishing in their fear and despair. The soldiers shivered uncontrollably, their faces pale as the elder's relentless circling intensified. Every move he made, every word he spoke, exuded a sense of darkness and wickedness. Finally, the elder pointed a bony finger toward the charred body on the ground. Look around you, he sneered, his voice filled with venom. All the corpses you were supposed to guard have been reduced to ashes. The fire still rages, consuming the remnants of our plans. And in that moment, the soldiers could feel the weight of their failure crushing them, as the elder reveled in their despair. A true embodiment of malevolence and darkness. The elder abruptly ceased his circling, standing directly in front of the squadron leader, a man with fiery red hair at the fusion stage of cultivation. With an eerie gentleness, the elder cupped the leader's head in his pale, bony hands, a twisted smile creeping across his face. Tell me, he whispered, his voice dripping with sadistic delight. What should be the punishment for failing in your duty? The soldiers trembled in fear, their eyes widened with horror, as the elder's touch lingered on the squadron leader's face, his fingers caressing the man's features. It was a hauntingly intimate gesture, sending shivers down their spines. And then, in a sudden, shocking moment, the elder's teeth plunged into the squadron leader's exposed neck. Blood sprayed forth, painting the air crimson as the elder greedily sucked the life force from the leader's veins. The squadron leader writhed in agony, his desperate struggles proving futile against the elder's insidious grip. Michael, watching the macabre scene unfold with a frown on his face, observed the elder's true nature. It was clear to him now, this sinister elder was a vampire, and his instincts had been right all along. But for now, Michael remained hidden on the ceiling, watching the elder indulge in his dark feast, his mind focused on his mission and the greater threat that awaited within the depths of the sky hall. As the elder continued to drink the lifeblood of the squadron leader, a sudden burst of light erupted throughout the hall. Runes inscribed on the walls and floor ignited, their ethereal glow casting an eerie illumination. Simultaneously, a deafening alarm blared, its piercing sound resonating through the chamber. Michael recognized the familiar robotic voice he had heard earlier from the orb, echoing through the hall. Intruder alert. Death detected in the Hall of Runework. Dispatching soldiers for immediate investigation, the voice declared. Slowly, the elder lifted his head, revealing a face drenched in the blood he had consumed from the squadron leader. His teeth were stained crimson, a chilling smile forming on his twisted lips. Ah, it is I, Elder Deathhead, who snuffed out a life, he declared, his voice dripping with sinister satisfaction. The voice recognition confirms Elder Deathhead's identity. The alarm will be deactivated shortly, the robotic voice announced, its tone devoid of emotion. Elder Deathhead's twisted smile widened, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. He relished the chaos he had caused and reveled in the fear that permeated the air. The soldiers, trembling in fear, watched as their squadron leader's lifeless body slumped to the ground, blood pooling around it. As the voice announced the imminent deactivation of the alarm, the runes around the hall slowly dimmed, returning the chamber to its previous darkness. The oppressive silence hung heavy, broken only by the echoes of the alarm fading into oblivion. The soldiers stood frozen, their gaze fixed on Elder Deathhead, their minds paralyzed by fear. A sly smile curled on Michael's lips as he absorbed the crucial information he had just learned. The defense mechanisms of the Sky Hall were intricately connected, and the runes had a way of sensing when a life was extinguished, triggering an alert. Michael realized that killing would only bring unwanted attention upon himself, potentially jeopardizing his mission. Knockouts instead of kills, he murmured under his breath, formulating a new plan. He would use his skills to incapacitate the guards when necessary, rendering them unconscious but preserving their lives. It would allow him to proceed without setting off the alarm and alerting the Sky Hall to his presence. His mind raced with thoughts, drawing a parallel between the voice he had heard and the sophisticated artificial intelligence he had encountered in the past. Could there be a central core, a control center that governed all the defense mechanisms and surveillance systems within the Sky Hall? Perhaps there's a core, he speculated, his eyes narrowing with determination. If he could locate and neutralize that central control, he might gain the upper hand and disrupt the Sky Hall's operations even further. But first, he needed to navigate through the treacherous halls and encounter more clues that would lead him to this elusive core. With newfound resolve, Michael ventured deeper into the heart of the Sky Hall, his mind buzzing with strategies and possibilities. He knew that his mission had just become even more complex, but he was determined to uncover the truth and put an end to the sinister plans that unfolded within those walls. Slowly, Elder Deathhead slowly rose from his crouched position, a twisted smile stretching across his face as he surveyed the remaining members of the squadron. Their leader's body now appeared shriveled and mummified, a ghastly sight that sent shivers down their spines. The Elder's cold gaze fixed upon the terrified soldiers, his eyes gleaming with a wicked delight. With a chilling voice, he addressed them, his words dripping with malevolence. "You have failed in your duty and betrayed the Sky Hall. Such incompetence deserves a severe punishment." The soldiers, trembling and panic-stricken, pleaded for mercy, their voices filled with desperation. "Please, Elder Deathhead, we were only following our leader's orders. We didn't know it would come to this." The Elder merely chuckled, paying no heed to their pleas. He turned his attention to the black-armored soldiers standing nearby, their presence intimidating and foreboding. With a casual wave of his hand, he issued a chilling command. "Throw them into the fire. Let them burn with the bodies they were supposed to guard." The squadron soldiers' screams echoed through the hall as they begged for forgiveness, their voices laced with terror and remorse. "No, please. We didn't mean any harm. We were just following orders." But their pleas fell on deaf ears as the black-armored soldiers, devoid of compassion, delivered swift punches, knocking the squadron members unconscious. With a callous disregard, they dragged their limp bodies towards the door leading to the hall where the bodies were burning. Michael, hidden in the shadows, watched with a furrowed brow. He knew he had to act carefully, avoiding detection while finding a way to intervene. The scene before him was a harrowing testament to the cruelty that permeated the Sky Hall. Chapter 1004. Michael being the sneaky assassin as the two black-armored soldiers dragged the unconscious squadron soldiers toward the door leading to the hall where the bodies still burned. They exchanged grim remarks about their unfortunate fate. "These poor souls had the misfortune of catching Elder Deathhead's attention," remarked the first soldier, his voice laced with a mix of pity and indifference. With a creak, the first soldier swung open the door, unleashing a wave of searing heat that washed over them. Ignoring the intense heat emanating from within, he callously tossed the lifeless body he was dragging into the fiery abyss. Inside the hall of burning corpses, soldiers battling the flames shouted angrily at the black-armored soldier who had disturbed their efforts. "You, get over here and lend us a hand with the runes. We need assistance." The first soldier turned to his companion, a cold determination in his eyes. "Keep dragging them and throwing them into the fire," he commanded, his voice devoid of sympathy. "I'll go and see what's wrong with the runes." Without hesitation, the second soldier continued his grim task, each unconscious soldier meeting the same fiery fate. Meanwhile, the first soldier ventured into the chaotic hall, making his way towards the malfunctioning runes as the smell of the burning corpses permeated through the air. As the second soldier made his way back toward the unconscious squadron soldiers, Michael's sly smile grew wider. He had formulated a cunning plan to delve deeper into the secrets of the Sky Hall. With impeccable timing, as the soldier descended directly beneath him, Michael swiftly descended from the ceiling, landing with a precise and powerful punch that knocked the soldier unconscious. It was a calculated strike, carefully suppressing his strength to avoid killing the soldier. Moving swiftly, Michael wasted no time. He immediately removed the silver armor he had been wearing and put it away in his system storage. Disguising himself was second nature to him, and he deftly donned the black armored soldier's attire, blending seamlessly into the role. Like a chameleon changing its colors, Michael transitioned from disguise to disguise, utilizing his adaptability to navigate the intricate web of the Sky Hall undetected. As Michael lifted the unconscious black armored soldier, who was now stripped down to shorts, he propelled the body upward with a forceful throw. The soldier soared through the air, propelled by the strength of Michael's throw, until he reached the lofty heights of the ceiling. With a quick flick of his wrist, Michael produced a small vial containing a shimmering, silvery potion. With calculated precision, he hurled the vial towards the suspended soldier. As the vial made contact, it shattered upon impact, releasing its contents in a burst of energy. In an instant, a translucent web-like substance enveloped the soldier, encasing him in a cocoon of magical threads. The cocoon adhered to the ceiling, clinging tightly to the surface, remaining hidden from prying eyes. The web cocoon, now plastered to the ceiling, concealed the soldier's presence, effectively removing him from sight. It was a clever maneuver, ensuring that no one would stumble upon the unconscious soldier as Michael continued his covert exploration of the Sky Hall. Disguised in the black armor, Michael lowered his helmet, concealing his face from view. With a cold and determined gaze, he surveyed the unconscious soldiers lying before him. Playfully, he muttered to himself, "I must look and act the part." His voice devoid of any mercy or compassion for the Sky Hall soldiers. In his mind, they were his enemies, and he felt no sympathy for their fate. Without hesitation, Michael began to drag the limp bodies, one by one, towards the hall where the corpses continued to burn. As he approached the door, a searing wave of intense heat washed over him, signaling the inferno raging within the hall. Undeterred, he pushed the door open, bracing himself against the scorching air that greeted him. With precise aim, Michael hurled the body he had been dragging into the raging fire. It was a ruthless act, symbolizing his complete disregard for the fallen soldier's fate. The flames greedily consumed the body, adding it to the macabre pyre of burning corpses. In that moment, Michael's determination remained resolute, his purpose unwavering. He was willing to go to any lengths to achieve his mission and bring justice to the Sky Hall, even if it meant killing everyone in his way. As Michael continued to toss the unconscious soldiers into the engulfing flames, a scene of horror unfolded. The intense heat and searing pain jolted the soldiers awake, their screams piercing the air. Desperate to escape the merciless inferno, they stumbled and tried to crawl away, their bodies engulfed in panic and agony. Yet, the black armored soldiers remained unmoved, their indifference echoing in the face of such suffering. With a flick of their hands, the black armored soldiers unleashed powerful spells upon the struggling soldiers. Arch energy crackled through the air, striking the victims with brutal force. Thunderous blasts sent shockwaves through the hall, further fueling the already raging flames. Each spell intensified the heat, making the fire burn hotter, as if the very air had turned into a scorching furnace. The soldiers' attempts to escape were swiftly thwarted by the merciless spells, rendering them unconscious once again. They fell to the ground, their bodies singed and battered, their futile struggle against the merciless fate extinguished. Amidst the chaos, Michael observed with a mixture of curiosity and grim determination. He noticed the runes that adorned his own armor and that of the other black armored soldiers. The runes shimmered and glowed with an otherworldly light, serving as a shield against the deadly flames. It became clear to him that these enchantments protected them from the fire's wrath, leaving them untouched while the rest suffered the merciless fate of the inferno. As the black-armored soldier returned to Michael's side, unaware of his true identity as the Dark Lord, he suggested that they should inform Elder Gravesinger about the events that had transpired. "We should go to Elder Gravesinger and report what happened here," the soldier said, his voice muffled by the helmet. Michael nodded silently, falling into step behind the soldier without uttering a word. They made their way through the labyrinthine corridors of the Sky Hall, their footsteps echoing in the desolate halls. The soldier mentioned that the elders would be furious, particularly because Noah had managed to escape the Sky Hall. Finally, they arrived at a relatively small hall, its atmosphere heavy with anticipation. In the center of the hall, a glowing array resembling a complex chakra pattern adorned the floor. Without hesitation, the soldier and Michael stepped onto the array, triggering a surge of bright light that enveloped them. In the blink of an eye, Michael and the soldier found themselves transported to the top side of the Sky Hall. They emerged into a familiar corridor, the aftermath of Noah's fierce battle evident in the chaos that surrounded them. The walls lay in ruins, crumbled and scorched, while soldiers hurriedly worked to clean and repair the devastated area. Amidst the scene of destruction, the soldier continued to speak. "It's going to take a while to restore order here. Noah wreaked havoc on the Sky Hall. The elders won't be pleased." His voice carried a mixture of exhaustion and frustration. Michael remained silent, taking in the sight before him. He knew that his true intentions were far from aligning with the Sky Hall's interests. As Michael and the black-armored soldier made their way through the chaotic corridor, the silver-armored soldiers stationed along the path saluted them, acknowledging their authority within the Sky Hall's hierarchy. It became apparent to Michael that the black-armored soldiers held a position of high esteem among their ranks. Among the soldiers in the corridor, he witnessed many of them nursing wounds and injuries sustained during the confrontation with Noah. Some soldiers were seen drinking healing potions to expedite their recovery. Mixed in with their attempts to heal, Michael overheard a few injured soldiers cursing Noah with venomous words, expressing their frustration and anger. "Damn that bastard! He tore us apart. I hope he rots in the deepest pits of hell. What a bastard! He caught me off guard. Mark my words. God or not, I am going to get that son of a bitch." Michael listened to their bitter words and couldn't help but feel disappointed in Noah's actions. While he didn't share their sentiments, he understood their pain. However, he knew that their lives were not worth preserving, for they served the Sky Hall, an institution rife with darkness and malevolence. "How could he be my brother?" Michael muttered to himself, shaking his head. Does he truly believe these soldiers deserve to live? They're just pawns in the hands of monsters. The thought of elders like Deathhead and Gravesinger being the farthest thing from heroes amused him in a dark way. Their very names oozed with malevolence and evil. Deathhead and Gravesinger. Truly fitting names for these villains, Michael murmured with a sardonic smirk, recognizing the irony in their chosen titles. As Michael and the black-armored soldier maneuvered through the labyrinthine corridors and halls, a thought lingered in Michael's mind. Despite his personal disdain for Noah, he couldn't deny the effectiveness of Noah's assault on the Sky Hall. It made him wonder about the extent of power that the grace bestowed upon Noah, allowing him to wreak such havoc. Finally, they emerged from the dilapidated structure, stepping out into a sprawling graveyard. The scene before them was haunting, as countless headstones adorned the landscape, their names worn away by time and neglect. The graveyard seemed to stretch endlessly, shrouded in an eerie stillness. The air felt heavy with a somber atmosphere, and Michael wrinkled his brow as a sense of death permeated the surroundings. The trees that lined the graveyard stood tall, their leaves gray and lifeless, contrasting with their black, gnarled bark. It was as if even nature mourned within this desolate place. Michael took a moment to absorb the sight before him, his senses heightened by the lingering scent of death that seemed to cling to the air. A mix of emotions filled him, a tinge of unease, but also a resolute determination to see his mission through. As they approached the front of the graveyard, the black-armored soldier led the way, guiding Michael through the eerie silence. Suddenly, their attention was drawn to a figure standing near a grand tombstone adorned in flowing crimson-red robes. Intricate skull designs embellished the fabric, hinting at a sinister presence. The figure turned slowly, revealing a towering orc with a commanding presence. Elder Gravesinger, his gaze piercing and his countenance calm, surveyed the surroundings with a stoic demeanor. His massive physique exuded strength and power, muscles rippling beneath the fabric of his robes. Elder Gravesinger's green skin carried the scars of battles fought and won, a testament to his formidable nature. His eyes, deep and intense, held a keen intelligence within them. The weight of his authority and the dark energy that radiated from him were palpable. As Michael stood before Elder Gravesinger, memories of his subordinate Dalar surfaced in his mind. It was during one of their conversations that Dalar had mentioned a book called the Book of Death, which he had studied meticulously to become proficient in the dark arts of raising the dead. In their discussions, Dalar had revealed that the knowledge within the ancient book had been passed down through generations of their family. It was said that an ancestor of theirs, a powerful necromancer, had compiled the book, recording forbidden rituals and incantations that delved into the realm of life and death. As Michael contemplated the connection between Dalar, the Book of Death, and Elder Gravesinger, a chilling thought crossed his mind. Could it be possible that Elder Gravesinger, as an orc elder of great influence, had access to this same knowledge? Did he have some connection to the Book of Death and Dalar? The idea sent a shiver down Michael's spine, for if Elder Gravesinger indeed had a link to the Book of Death, it meant that he wielded dark and ancient powers that could potentially pose a significant threat. Michael vowed to remain cautious, aware that his encounter with the Elder would require a careful approach, as he could be facing an opponent with knowledge and abilities far beyond his own expectations. Chapter 1005. Necromancer of Skyhall. Elder Gravesinger's crimson eyes widened in shock, and his grip tightened around his staff as he thundered, "What news do you bring?" The black-armored soldier's voice trembled as he mustered the courage to respond, "Elder Gravesinger, I deeply regret to inform you that the mortal corpses we had collected and stored in your hall have been ravaged by an unforeseen fire. The squadron entrusted with guarding them abandoned their posts in pursuit of Noah, leaving the corpses vulnerable to this catastrophic event." The orc's normally composed visage contorted with rage, veins bulging on his forehead as he roared, "You imbeciles! Those corpses were the linchpin of my intricate ritual. The flow of power necessary for our operation has been irrevocably disrupted." The soldier's voice quivered as he continued, "Elder Gravesinger, know that swift retribution has been exacted upon the squadron." Elder Deathhead himself took charge, condemning the squadron leader to death and ordering the remaining members to be thrown alive into the fire as a chilling punishment. A sinister smile curled at the corners of Elder Gravesinger's lips, his voice dripping with venomous satisfaction. "A quick death? Such mercy bestowed upon them. I would have relished in the opportunity to strip their flesh piece by piece, subjecting them to unimaginable torment for their grievous negligence." Meanwhile, Michael, disguised as a black-armored soldier, observed the furious orc with amusement concealed behind his mask. It was he who had orchestrated the fire that consumed the corpses, reveling in the chaos and destruction it brought upon the Skyhall. The sight of Elder Gravesinger seething with anger only served to reinforce his belief that the elders of the Skyhall were anything but righteous figures. Suddenly, Elder Gravesinger's hand shot up into the air, causing the very ground beneath him to tremble with an ominous resonance. Michael and the black-armored soldier instinctively took several steps back, their eyes widening with a mixture of awe and trepidation. As if responding to the orc's command, the earth began to split open, revealing deep, gaping cracks that snaked their way across the desolate graveyard. Elder Gravesinger's voice carried an arcane resonance as he chanted under his breath, his words barely audible but laced with dark power. With each syllable uttered, the cracks in the ground deepened and widened, releasing tendrils of malevolent energy that danced and writhed like ethereal serpents. Out of nowhere, from one of the cracks, a bony hand emerged, reaching upwards with a haunting determination. Its skeletal fingers, weathered and ancient, grasped the edges of the crevice, followed by the emergence of countless other skeletal figures. They clawed their way out of the depths, their decayed remains caked in dirt and clinging to the remnants of tattered burial garments. The graveyard became a chilling spectacle as the skeletal beings, once dormant in their eternal rest, rose from their slumber. Their hollow eye sockets glowed with an eerie, ethereal light, casting a ghastly illumination upon their bony frames. With jerky, unnatural movements, they shuffled forward, a legion of undead abominations called forth by the necromantic power of Elder Gravesinger. The air grew heavy with a palpable sense of horror as the skeletal horde assembled before their orc master. The chilling clatter of their bones reverberated through the night, a haunting cacophony that sent shivers down the spines of all who bore witness. The sight was both mesmerizing and horrifying, a macabre dance of death and undeath. As Elder Gravesinger surveyed his skeletal minions, a sinister smile played upon his lips, his eyes glowing with unholy delight. In that moment, Michael realized that the connection between Dalar, the Book of Death, and Elder Gravesinger ran deeper than he had ever imagined. The Orc Elder was a master of necromancy, wielding forces that defied the natural order and threatened to unleash a reign of terror upon the world. Elder Gravesinger's piercing gaze fell upon the black-armored soldier and Michael, his eyes burning with an intense malevolence. With a commanding tone, he spoke, his voice laced with dark authority. "You!" He pointed his finger at the soldier. "Gather the skeleton soldiers. They shall retrieve the coffins from Hall 12A and transport them to my pocket dimension. Ensure that they reach their destination intact." The black-armored soldier, his voice laced with a mix of obedience and fear, responded, "Yes, Elder Gravesinger. The skeleton soldiers will carry out your command." Elder Gravesinger turned his attention to Michael, his eyes narrowing as he studied the disguised figure. "And you ensure that no one interferes with the skeleton soldiers' task. Protect their path and eliminate any who dare to stand in their way." Michael, hidden beneath the black armor, nodded in acknowledgement. "Consider it done, Elder Gravesinger. No one will impede the progress of your soldiers." With a final, chilling smile, Elder Gravesinger's gaze shifted back to the skeletal horde assembled before him. "Go now, my minions. Retrieve the coffins and deliver them to the teleportation hall. Let nothing deter you. The power within those coffins is vital to our cause." The skeleton soldiers, animated by force beyond mortal comprehension, heeded their master's command. They moved with a surreal unity, their bony limbs propelling them forward in a macabre march. As they began their relentless journey toward Hall 12A, a chilling aura of death clung to their forms. Michael and the black-armored soldier, their mission clear, positioned themselves at the forefront of the procession. They became the guardians of the skeletal entourage, their senses heightened and ready to unleash whatever force necessary to maintain the unhindered progress of the undead legion. The corridors of the Sky Hall echoed with the hollow footsteps of the skeleton soldiers, their presence evoking a sense of dread and foreboding. They passed through crumbling chambers and devastated halls, their goal unwavering. As the skeleton soldiers marched through the debris-strewn corridor, their hollow eye sockets ignored the wary glances of the Sky Hall soldiers who had gathered there. Though the onlookers were not surprised by the presence of the skeletal army, an unease flickered across their faces, betraying their underlying fears. Leading the way, Michael and the black-armored soldiers guided the relentless procession toward Hall 12A. It dawned on Michael that this very hall housed the coffins containing the demon skeletons. These coffins were once exhumed from the depths of demon graves and brought to the Sky Hall for inspection before being sent to the Rising Hall. Drawing connections, Michael's mind raced as he pieced together the intentions of Elder Gravesinger. It became evident that the Orc Elder spearheaded the endeavor to unearth these demon coffins, presumably with the aim of raising an undead army to oppose him, the Dark Lord. The fortunate turn of events, with the fire ignited by Michael and Noah's escape, had compelled Elder Gravesinger to relocate the coffins to his pocket dimension outside the confines of the Sky Hall. A daring idea began to form in Michael's mind, fraught with risk yet pregnant with possibilities. The shifting tides of fate had granted him an opportunity to exploit this situation to his advantage. As they reached Hall 12A, Michael was greeted by the familiar sight of a vast warehouse, where ancient coffins stood in neat rows, their weathered surfaces whispering of the secrets held within. He observed how the path between Hall 12A and the teleportation hall had been swiftly repaired by the diligent Sky Hall soldiers, allowing for easy access and swift transportation. With the skeleton soldiers now in position, Michael and the black-armored soldier watched in awe as the skeletal beings moved with surprising coordination and speed, effortlessly carrying the coffins upon their bony shoulders. "I'll go ahead and wait in the teleportation hall," the black-armored soldier announced, stepping aside to make way for the procession of skeletons. "Very well," Michael nodded, his gaze fixed upon the skeletal soldiers as they lifted and bore the coffins away. The black-armored soldier let out a weary sigh, remarking, "Say what you want, but these damn things can certainly get the job done," before making his way towards the teleportation hall. Once the black-armored soldier disappeared from sight, Michael remained at the doorway, patiently biding his time. He knew that his plan hinged upon the precise moment, the perfect opportunity to execute his daring move. As he observed the movements of the skeleton soldiers, he discerned a pattern, a brief window of 12 seconds every 3 minutes when the hall would be devoid of their presence. 1, 2, 3. Michael counted silently, closing in on the crucial moment when the skeletons would momentarily vacate the hall in unison. When the awaited moment arrived, Michael sprung into action. He darted into the hall with swift agility, sliding open the lid of a nearby coffin, and leapt inside, closing the lid behind him in a hushed rush. He had managed to take advantage of those precious 12 seconds, slipping into the coffin undetected before the skeletal soldiers returned to the hall. Now concealed within the confines of the coffin, Michael's heart raced with anticipation. He knew that this risky maneuver would propel him deeper into the heart of the enemy's operations, bringing him one step closer to the truth and the ultimate confrontation with Elder Gravesinger. As darkness enveloped him, he braced himself for what lay ahead, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him on this perilous journey. Within the confines of the coffin, Michael experienced a mixture of sensations. The skeletal soldier's cold, bony hands securely grasped the edges of the coffin, lifting him effortlessly into the air. He felt a slight tremor coursing through the skeleton's form as it moved with an eerie grace, stepping forward and making its way through the corridor toward the teleportation hall. Every jostle and movement of the skeleton resonated within the coffin, causing Michael to feel a sense of confinement and anticipation. The rhythmic footsteps of the skeleton soldiers echoed in his ears as they carried him along, their hollow bones clicking and clacking with each step. As the procession neared the teleportation hall, Michael sensed a subtle shift in the air, as if it were charged with otherworldly energy. The low, resonant hum grew louder, seeping through the confines of the coffin, and he knew that the teleportation process was imminent. Finally, the skeleton soldier gently lowered the coffin to the ground, its movements calculated and precise. Michael could hear the muffled sounds of other coffins being set down beside him, forming a macabre symphony of eerie thuds. Then, a surge of power rippled through the air. The atmosphere distorted and shimmered, like a mirage bending reality. The room seemed to pulsate with energy, and Michael felt a surge of anticipation and trepidation. Amidst the eerie glow, ancient runes etched onto the ground began to radiate with vibrant light. The glyphs shimmered and danced with an otherworldly power, harnessing the power of celestial energy in the air. They pulsed and throbbed, their luminescent glow growing in intensity until finally, they erupted in a blinding burst of light. In an instant, the coffin, along with the others, vanished from the teleportation hall, leaving no trace behind. The rune's power had worked its mysterious magic, transporting the coffins to Elder Gravesinger's pocket dimension, where they would await his command. As the teleportation process concluded, the sensations that had enveloped Michael within the coffin dissipated into a still darkness. He felt a momentary disorientation, suspended in a void of uncertainty. His heightened senses strained to perceive any clues about the enigmatic pocket dimension he now found himself in. With anticipation pulsating through his veins, Michael awaited the moment when he would emerge from the coffin, revealing himself as the Dark Lord. The element of surprise hung in the air, an invisible cloak he would soon shed to confront Elder Gravesinger face to face. Little did the Elder know that fate had conspired to bring the one he sought to destroy directly to his doorstep. Chapter 1006. Getting the demon coffins with the skull medallion clutched tightly in his hand, Elder Gravesinger made his way through the teleportation hall. As he pressed the medallion, the array beneath his feet glimmered, casting an ethereal light that engulfed the Elder. In an instant, he vanished from the hall, transported to his very own pocket dimension. This pocket dimension, curated specifically for his sinister necromantic rituals, exuded an eerie ambience. Its dark and foreboding atmosphere was tailor-made to accommodate Elder Gravesinger's macabre experiments and the awakening of the deceased. 3,000 years ago, when the Sky Hall and the Guardian Guild relentlessly hunted down the Order of Death and all those suspected of supporting or worshipping the Dark Lord, the bodies of their victims were amassed in this very dimension. It became a burial ground on a massive scale, entrusted to Elder Gravesinger for his unholy undertakings. The pocket dimension itself seemed to exist in perpetual twilight, with an oppressive gray sky overhead. A thick mist shrouded the entire dimension, lending an otherworldly quality to the surroundings. Towering trees, devoid of leaves, stretched out like skeletal giants, their branches reaching out with an air of malevolence. These darkened sentinels were scattered throughout the dimension, standing alongside countless coffins that lay in solemn repose. As Elder Gravesinger approached the coffins, the army of skeleton soldiers parted to make way for their master. The sounds of their rattling bones echoed in the stillness as he made his way through their ranks. With measured steps, the Elder walked among the coffins, his gaze scanning the rows with a mix of anticipation and authority. A faint rustling sound reached Elder Gravesinger's ears, drawing his attention to one particular coffin. Frowning, he closed the distance, his eyes fixed on the source of the disturbance. Step by step, he closed in, his presence exuding a commanding aura. Finally, he stood before the coffin, the weight of his power hanging heavy in the air. Before opening the coffin, Elder Gravesinger paused, closing his eyes and attuning himself to the array's energies that permeated the pocket dimension. This place, devoid of any energy, was under his complete control. Anyone other than him who dared to step foot in this realm would be stripped of their powers, reduced to mere mortals. With a combination of carefully crafted arrays and the influence of his God-given abilities, Elder Gravesinger reigned supreme as the deity of this sinister dimension. What do we have here? Elder Gravesinger's brow furrowed as he reached out to push open the lid of the coffin. However, before his fingers could make contact, a sudden explosion shattered the coffin into fragments. The force of the blast rippled outward, knocking several of the skeleton soldiers off their feet. Yet, to the surprise of all, Elder Gravesinger remained rooted in place, defying the expected impact. In the blink of an eye, a hand emerged from the chaos, seizing hold of the skull-shaped medallion that adorned Gravesinger's neck. Before the stunned Elder could react, the hand swiftly plucked the medallion from his possession. A potent gust of wind surged forth, catching Gravesinger off guard and propelling him through the air. The entire sequence of events unfolded in a mere heartbeat, leaving those who witnessed it bewildered and astounded. The explosion of the coffin sent a cloud of dust and smoke billowing through the air, obscuring the scene from view. As the particles settled, revealing the aftermath, Elder Gravesinger was found sprawled on the ground, his body covered in a layer of dirt and mud. He swiftly rose to his feet, brushing off the soil that clung to his robes with a frustrated swipe of his hand. In a state of urgency, Elder Gravesinger's hand instinctively reached for his neck, his fingers searching for the familiar weight of his precious skull medallion. However, a growing sense of dread engulfed him as his touch met nothing but empty space. His eyes widened in realization as he understood that his treasured talisman had been snatched away, leaving him vulnerable and unable to teleport out of this place without activating the special arrays, which would take time. As the dust and smoke settled, revealing the aftermath of the explosion, a figure emerged from the haze, donned in a suit of black armor. The armor bore an intricate skull emblem, its eyes radiating a haunting crimson glow. Elder Gravesinger's gaze locked onto the figure, and his heart skipped a beat. He knew this face all too well. It was the visage of the Dark Lord himself. Time seemed to stand still as Elder Gravesinger's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. He stumbled backward, his jaw slack, unable to comprehend the sight before him. The calmness etched upon the Dark Lord's face only deepened the sense of unease that gripped the Elder's heart. The intensity of the crimson light in the skull's eyes contrasted sharply with the darkness of the armor, giving the Dark Lord an aura of both power and mystery. Elder Gravesinger's mind raced, attempting to process the magnitude of this unexpected encounter. Fear and uncertainty mingled within him, his hands trembling involuntarily. The Dark Lord's presence alone sent chills down his spine, and it became clear to the Elder that he was facing an opponent far more formidable than he had ever imagined. Diddle, diddle, you are so little. A serene calmness resonated in Michael's voice as his words reverberated throughout the eerie pocket dimension. Elder Gravesinger struggled to collect his thoughts, his mind still reeling from the realization that the Dark Lord had infiltrated his domain undetected, slipping through their defenses like a phantom. Get him! With a sudden surge of determination, Elder Gravesinger's shock transformed into a fierce resolve. He bellowed his command, his voice filled with equal parts anger and desperation, urging his skeleton soldiers to attack the intruder. The skeletal army, loyal to their master's call, charged at Michael from all directions, their bony limbs clattering in a macabre symphony. But Michael stood firm, an embodiment of unwavering confidence amidst the chaos. The billowing black cape that adorned his armored form danced gracefully in the ethereal wind, adding an air of mystique to his presence. His eyes, once filled with crimson radiance, transformed into pools of pure darkness, exuding an otherworldly aura. In an instant, Michael unleashed his power, a torrent of dark energy surging forth from his eyes. The beams of inky blackness sliced through the air with deadly precision, cleaving the skulls off the charging skeletons. The pocket dimension became a whirlwind of dislodged bone, as countless skulls were sent spiraling through the air in a grotesque ballet. The clash between the Dark Lord's dark energy and the skeletal army created a scene that was both captivating and horrifying. How do you use cultivation power? Elder Gravesinger's words stumbled out in a mix of shock and disbelief, barely forming coherent sentences. The realization that the Dark Lord possessed the power of cultivation struck him with profound astonishment. Michael, too, was taken aback by this revelation. He had assumed that the elders of Skyhall held extensive knowledge about him, but it seemed that Gravesinger was oblivious to his capabilities. How can you hope to defeat your enemy? Michael calmly questioned, his voice tinged with a hint of incredulity. When you remain ignorant about who they truly are. As Michael spoke, the relentless tide of skeleton soldiers surged forward, their mindless existence fueled solely by Elder Gravesinger's necromantic powers. With no strategy or fear, they mindlessly charged at their intended target. Unfazed by the oncoming horde, Michael continued his deliberate approach, his every step purposeful. Growing darkness enveloped the area surrounding Michael, casting an ominous shadow over the confrontation. Within this shroud, Elder Gravesinger's gaze fixated on a sight that sent chills down his spine. He witnessed the emergence of a swirling black flame, burning within the depths of the dark shroud that encompassed the Dark Lord. The intensity of these black flames emanated searing heat, causing beads of sweat to form on Gravesinger's forehead. As the flame blazed forth, it consumed the approaching skeleton soldiers with ruthless efficiency. Before the mindless soldiers could draw near to the Dark Lord, their bones turned to ash, carried away by the whispering winds of the pocket dimension. The scene unfolded like a macabre dance as the relentless advance of the skeletons was met with the all-consuming power of the black flames. The air grew heavy with the scent of burning bone, mingling with the acrid tang of charred remains. With a mixture of frustration and desperation, Elder Gravesinger let out an enraged roar, his voice reverberating through the eerie pocket dimension. He realized that extracting any valuable information from the Dark Lord seemed futile. Enough! Gravesinger bellowed, his voice laced with fury. You won't get anything out of me with your pathetic attempts at conversation. in an act of grotesque defiance. His expression contorted into a deranged grin. With a swift, unnerving motion, he thrust his hand towards his own mouth, clutching his tongue tightly. The veins on his forehead bulged as the elder's face contorted in agony. Blood gushed from between his fingers, spraying in every direction, creating a macabre crimson mist in the dimly lit atmosphere. The torment etched across Gravesinger's face was juxtaposed with the manic glint in his eyes. He plucked his own tongue out, ripping it from his mouth with a sickening squelch. Blood cascaded from the severed tongue, splattering onto the ground in a grotesque display. The elder's twisted act of self-mutilation sent shockwaves through the air, mingling with the scent of blood and the stifled gasps of disbelief from those witnessing the scene. The sound of dripping blood and Gravesinger's pained gurgles filled the void, underscoring the depravity that unfolded before them. In this twisted moment, the dark forces at play revealed the depths to which Elder Gravesinger was willing to go. His madness and desperation laid bare for all to witness. The silence that followed was punctuated only by the faint whispers of the wind, carrying the weight of an unsettling realization. The battle between the Dark Lord and the Elder had descended into a realm far beyond the boundaries of sanity. As the macabre scene unfolded, a chilling laughter erupted from the lips of the Dark Lord. The sound reverberated through the twisted pocket dimension, mingling with the echoes of Gravesinger's pained gurgles and the lingering scent of blood. Amidst his laughter, the Dark Lord's voice rang out, cold and menacing. "Oh, Gravesinger, you misunderstand. I have no interest in torturing you for information. You possess nothing I need." His laughter subsided, replaced by an unsettling calmness that sent shivers down the spines of those present. Leaning closer, the Dark Lord's crimson eyes pierced through the shadows, fixed upon Gravesinger's bloodied form. "No, my dear Elder. I am here for a much simpler purpose. I have come to kill you and claim all these coffins that you have amassed." The casualness in the Dark Lord's tone was unnerving, his words laced with a dangerous certainty. There was no room for negotiation or compromise. His intentions were clear, and the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Chapter 1007. Meeting the god of necromancy surrounded by the engulfing dark flames, Michael strode forward with an air of calm determination. The skeleton soldiers, drawn to Elder Gravesinger's agonizing roar, found themselves consumed by the intense heat before they could even reach their intended target. One by one, they crumbled into ashes, their lifeless forms scattering into the wind. Approaching the fallen elder, Michael raised his finger, summoning a bolt of black lightning that crackled with potent energy. With precision and power, he directed the lightning at the orc's knees, shattering them in an instant. A gut-wrenching cry of pain escaped Gravesinger's lips, and his skeletal minions, sensing their master's anguish, froze in their tracks and collapsed to the ground. Crouching down, Michael locked eyes with the wounded elder, his voice dripping with a calm authority. "I do not need you, orc. I am a god, and it comes with the power to make anyone become anyone, including the best necromancer. But I have to thank you for collecting all these demon coffins. You'll make sure they were put into good use," he said, a sinister smile playing upon his lips. "You are meddling with forces you don't comprehend, bastard." In a feeble attempt to defy his impending demise, Elder Gravesinger waved his fingers in the air, forming words made of his own blood. But Michael's laughter echoed in response, void of any trace of fear or concern. "Forcrux, the god of all that is dead will avenge me. Tisk, tsk, tsk. I have already incurred the wrath of two gods, and one more shall make no difference," Michael rebuked, shaking his head in mock disappointment. Rising to his full height, he resolved to bring an end to Gravesinger's life once and for all. Rising to his feet, Michael prepared to deliver the final blow, ending the orc's life once and for all. "If you see your so-called god after you die, do convey my message. Stay the fuck away from my path," he declared, his voice laced with both conviction and a chilling disregard for any divine entity. Dark beams erupted from his eyes, slicing through the feeble body of Elder Gravesinger, spattering the surroundings with a crimson spray of blood. With his demise, The skeletal soldiers, now bereft of their master, collapsed into a cloud of fine white dust, their existence fading into nothingness. However, as Michael turned around, his attention momentarily shifted to the skull medallion clutched within his hand. He needed to talk to Eladir about the medallion and this pocket dimension. But before he could utter a single word, a faint tremor reverberated through the ground beneath him. At first, it was subtle, like the distant rumbling of an approaching storm. However, the tremors grew in intensity, causing the very earth to crack and fissure beneath his feet. Curiosity tinged with a hint of caution, Michael slowly turned his gaze toward the source of this seismic disturbance. What he beheld left him spellbound and awestruck. Emerging from the fragmented ground, a colossal shadow began to take form, stretching and elongating with every passing moment. As the tremors intensified, the skeletal frame of an enormous dragon materialized before Michael's eyes. Each bone glimmered with an eerie phosphorescence, as if infused with the remnants of countless fallen creatures. Sinewy wings unfolded, casting a haunting silhouette against the bleak sky, and bony spines protruded from its formidable back. The dragon's hollow eye sockets flickered with a malevolent crimson glow, fixating its gaze upon Michael. The ground beneath him continued to quake as the monstrous creature flexed its immense skeletal muscles, ready to unleash its wrath upon the intruder within its domain. In this moment, Michael stood in the presence of a fearsome entity, an embodiment of death and decay. "What the fuck?" Michael exclaimed, his voice laden with disbelief, as he watched the skeletal dragon steadily grow in size before him. Its bone structure expanded and elongated, stretching further into the sky with an eerie grace. The ground quaked violently beneath Michael's feet, threatening to knock him off balance. As the dragon reached a colossal magnitude, its presence seemed to transcend the physical realm. Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed through the dimension, reverberating in Michael's ears. "You have slain one of my devoted worshippers, Dark Lord." The voice intoned with an otherworldly resonance. "Now you shall pay the price for your audacity." A sense of foreboding washed over Michael as he recognized the voice as that of Forcrux, the self-proclaimed god of all that is death. His calm facade faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Gathering his composure, he muttered under his breath, "Is this the work of Forcrux?" The monstrous skeletal dragon continued to grow, its colossal form dwarfing Michael in comparison. Its bones creaked and groaned, an unsettling symphony accompanying its expansion. The dark voids of its eye sockets bore into Michael's very essence, and an aura of malevolence permeated the air. Panda's novel. Calm in the face of this menacing monstrosity, Michael's expression remained remarkably composed. His mind raced, assessing the situation and formulating a plan to confront this embodiment of death and destruction. As the skeletal dragon unleashed a torrent of cold crimson flames from its gaping maw, Michael's instincts kicked in. He swiftly dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the searing heat that threatened to engulf him. The flames licked at the air, scorching the ground where he had stood just moments before. The dragon, undeterred by its missed attack, lunged forward, its immense jaws snapping hungrily in Michael's direction. With lightning reflexes, he evaded the razor-sharp teeth that aimed to tear him apart. The force of the dragon's jaws clamped shut, sending a shockwave through the air that rattled the nearby coffins. In that moment, Michael's mind raced, analyzing the situation. He realized that engaging in a direct confrontation with the dragon amidst the coffins would risk damaging the very resources he sought to claim. He swiftly deduced that his best course of action was to lure the beast away from the vulnerable coffins, where collateral damage could be minimized. With determination in his eyes, Michael swiftly formulated a plan. He leaped back, putting some distance between himself and the dragon, and then turned to face his colossal foe. His gaze met the crimson glare emanating from the dragon's eye sockets, and he smirked. "I'll take this dance elsewhere," he murmured under his breath, his voice laced with a calculated resolve. Taking advantage of his agility, Michael sprinted toward the outskirts of the pocket dimension, deftly maneuvering between the towering skeletal trees. The ground trembled beneath him as the dragon pursued, its bony wings stretching wide in an attempt to gain speed. Michael knew that in order to defeat this formidable opponent, he needed to strategize and exploit any weaknesses. As the thunderous footsteps of the skeletal dragon echoed behind him, Michael pushed himself to the limits of his speed. His heart pounded in his chest as he weaved through the desolate landscape, the dragon's hot breath lingering on his heels. Feeling the dragon's fiery breath growing closer, Michael knew he had to change the rules of engagement. With a swift motion, he activated the hidden mechanisms within his armor. Metallic wings unfurled from his back, glimmering with an otherworldly light. With a single powerful flap, Michael soared into the sky, leaving the ground beneath him and the pursuing dragon behind. The skeletal dragon unleashed its wrath, sending forth a barrage of cold crimson flames that streaked through the air toward Michael. With keen reflexes, he maneuvered through the fiery onslaught, twisting and turning midair with acrobatic grace. He weaved between the flames, his movements resembling a dance, his body seemingly defying the laws of physics. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Commissing his agile wings to their fullest advantage, Michael executed swift dives and sudden ascents, evading the lethal breath of the dragon. He could feel the searing heat as the flames grazed his armored form, but he refused to let it hinder his focus. His mind raced, calculating the dragon's patterns and anticipating its every move. At times, he executed daring barrel rolls, spinning in midair to narrowly avoid the encroaching flames. Other moments saw him executing sharp turns and spirals, exploiting the dragon's sheer size and lack of agility. With each evasive maneuver, Michael demonstrated his mastery over the skies, staying one step ahead of the skeletal menace. The chase continued, the dragon's relentless pursuit matched only by Michael's unwavering determination. With every passing moment, he grew more adept at evading the dragon's destructive flames, his movements becoming increasingly fluid and precise. He danced with the danger, embracing the thrill of the chase while staying ever vigilant. Through his agile aerial acrobatics, Michael skillfully defied the dragon's attempts to corner him. He utilized every advantage his metallic wings granted him, soaring higher and swooping lower, taunting the beast with his elusiveness. The dragon's enraged roars filled the air as its frustration mounted, unable to catch hold of its elusive prey. In this exhilarating game of cat and mouse, Michael's skill and quick thinking kept him one step ahead. With a burst of determination, Michael flapped his wings with all his might, propelling himself higher and higher into the sky. As he ascended, the force of gravity became an enemy to the skeletal dragon. The higher they flew, the harder it became for the dragon to maintain its grip on the physical realm. Bones began to dislodge from the dragon's skeletal form, cascading down like macabre rain. The dragon's once mighty frame showed signs of strain, its movements becoming sluggish and erratic. It struggled to keep pace with Michael, who now circled above it, observing the dragon's plight with a mix of amusement and triumph. Michael's voice echoed through the air, laced with a mocking tone. "Is this the extent of your power?" The skeletal dragon emitted a low, guttural growl, a mix of frustration and rage. But its attempts to retaliate were feeble, its once powerful flames reduced to weak flickers. It thrashed and flapped its remaining bony wings, desperately trying to maintain its altitude, but to no avail. Michael continued to taunt the dragon, reveling in his advantage. "Come on, just a little further." The dragon's weakened form trembled under the strain, bones cracking and splintering as it struggled to stay afloat. Michael's eyes glinted with a mixture of satisfaction and confidence as he watched the dragon's futile struggle. "Now, witness the true power of a god," Michael declared, his voice carrying an air of superiority. "Hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing great. Recently, I've told by some readers how they are affected by the price increases in their country. I know that because I have experience too. So because of that, I decided to reduce the prices for the priv tiers. Note that if I had other means for an income, I would greatly reduce the prices, but since it wasn't the case and the author have to eat, I reduced the prices as much as I could. These are the price differences. Current price 5 chap priv equals 450 coins 10 chap priv equals 1000 coins 15 chap priv equals 1400 coins 20 chap priv equals 2000 coins new price 5 chap priv equals 400 coins 10 chap priv equals 950 coins 20 chap priv equals 1650 coins 25 chap priv equals 2100 coins. On top of that, I will add some discount percentage. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Chapter 1008. Forcrux schemes. As the dragon and Michael ascended higher into the sky, the world below appeared minuscule, mere dots in the vast expanse. Michael's mind raced, contemplating his options for combating the formidable skeletal beast. He realized that his dark swords would be insufficient against such a massive opponent, as the dragon's skeletal frame seemed impervious to their piercing strikes. In a moment of clarity, Michael's hand instinctively reached for his ultimate weapon, the Doomsbringer. With a fierce determination, he summoned the ancient black warhammer, engraved with intricate runes that glowed with a sinister aura. Its formidable head, infused with an ancient ice core, promised the power to summon intense frost and unleash the wrath of doom upon his enemies. The Doomsbringer materialized in Michael's grip, its weight reassuring and commanding respect. He tightened his grasp around the handle, feeling the surge of power resonating within him. The runes on the warhammer pulsed with an icy blue light, responding to Michael's unwavering resolve. With the Doomsbringer in hand, Michael's gaze locked onto the skeletal dragon, now struggling to maintain its altitude amidst the thinning air. He knew that this was the moment to unleash the full might of the warhammer and bring forth its icy wrath against the formidable foe. Resolve burning in his eyes, Michael made a daring move, closing his wings mid-air and allowing gravity to take hold. He began descending rapidly, utilizing the force of his fall to gather momentum and unleash an even more devastating attack. As Michael plummeted towards the skeletal dragon, the monstrosity sensed his descent and eagerly opened its jaw wider, preparing to devour him whole. But Michael was not so easily consumed by the beast's insatiable hunger. With a mighty swing of the Doomsbringer, Michael unleashed a cataclysmic blow upon the dragon's gaping maw. The clash between the warhammer and the skeletal jaws reverberated through the air, a thunderous sound that echoed across the expanse of the sky. The impact was tremendous. Bones shattered and splintered under the force of Michael's attack, the dragon recoiling from the sheer power of the blow. The skeletal beast was pushed back, its immense form staggered by the sheer might of the Doomsbringer. The resounding collision sent shockwaves rippling through the air, accompanied by an otherworldly howl that pierced the sky. Fragments of shattered bone were scattered like fallen stars, creating a macabre spectacle against the backdrop of the darkened heavens. Michael, his grip unwavering on the Doomsbringer, stood defiant amidst the chaos. The warhammer's icy aura intensified, surrounding him in an ethereal mist, as if the very essence of frost was drawn to his presence. He surveyed the aftermath of his powerful strike, a glimmer of satisfaction dancing in his eyes. But the battle was far from over. The skeletal dragon, though wounded, still possessed an unyielding determination. Its hollow sockets glowed with an ominous light, and its fragmented form began to slowly reassemble, drawing upon the dark energies that sustained its existence. Summoning the frigid powers imbued within the Doomsbringer, Michael focused his energy and channeled it into a concentrated blast of icy frost. From the warhammer's enchanted head, a torrent of intense cold erupted, streaking towards the skeletal dragon with blinding speed. The freezing blast engulfed the dragon, coating its bones in a layer of frost that crackled with an ethereal glow. The dragon's movements became sluggish as the biting cold sapped its vitality, hindering its ability to retaliate effectively. With lightning-fast agility, Michael maneuvered around the aerial battlefield, his movements a blur as he swung the Doomsbringer with calculated precision. Each strike connected with bone-shattering force, causing the dragon's skeletal structure to splinter and crumble under the onslaught. Fragmented bones scattered through the air like a ghastly rain, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The skeletal dragon, once an imposing behemoth, now trembled under the relentless assault, its form gradually disintegrating. In a display of unwavering control, Michael gracefully leaped atop the dragon's crumbling skull, a calm and determined expression etched upon his face. His eyes met the fading glimmer within the dragon's hollow sockets, and with a composed voice, he uttered, "Let's finish this." The battle seemed to hang in suspended animation for a moment as Michael's words resounded through the air. The skeletal dragon, its essence fading, responded with a feeble attempt at defiance, its shattered jaw twitching in a futile snarl. Knowing that victory was within reach, Michael raised the Doomsbringer high above his head, channeling the last reserves of his power into a final devastating strike. The warhammer crackled with unleashed energy, resonating with Michael's unwavering determination. With a resounding impact, the Doomsbringer struck the dragon's fractured skull, causing the remaining bones to crack and shatter. As the skeletal structure splintered under the force of the blow, Michael swiftly followed up with another strike, this time driving the pointed head of the warhammer deep into the dragon's skull. The Doomsbringer's sharp tip hooked into the fractured bone, securing Michael's grip and ensuring that he remained firmly attached to the dragon's fading form. Sensing the dragon's imminent demise, Michael summoned forth the power of the dark flames. Black flames danced and flickered around his clenched fist as he pressed the infernal fire against the skeletal dragon's head. The dark flames eagerly consumed the skeletal remains, their scorching heat intensifying with each passing moment. The dragon, now engulfed in the swirling vortex of black flames, began its descent through the air. It resembled a burning meteor hurtling toward the ground, leaving behind a trail of smoke and ash in its wake. The once mighty skeletal dragon, now reduced to a charred husk, continued its descent, propelled by the relentless force of gravity. The black flames danced and twisted around its skeletal frame, devouring every trace of its existence with an insatiable hunger. As the dragon descended, the air crackled with the sound of its fiery demise. The dark flames, fueled by the dragon's bones, illuminated the surrounding sky with an eerie crimson glow, casting an otherworldly ambience upon the scene. I think you should take a look at the burning dragon left a trail of destruction in its wake, scorching the air and leaving a smoldering path across the horizon. It was a sight both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a testament to the power wielded by Michael and the cataclysmic force of the Doomsbringer. As the dragon's descent reached its climax, its form disintegrated into embers and ashes, dissipating into the winds. The once formidable skeletal beast had been reduced to nothing but fading echoes of its former glory. As the remnants of the skeletal dragon descended, smoldering and reduced to ashes, they made contact with the ground with a resounding thud. The impact sent tremors rippling through the earth, a testament to the immense power that had been unleashed upon the once mighty beast. Seizing the moment, Michael wasted no time in venting his fury upon the dragon's shattered head. With a series of thunderous stomps, he brought his boot crashing down upon the charred remains, obliterating any trace of the skeletal creature that had dared to challenge him. Each stomp reverberated through the air, a declaration of his dominance and a symbol of his triumph. The remnants of bone crunched and crumbled beneath his relentless assault, further reducing the dragon's remains to mere dust and fragments. As the echoes of his final stomp faded into the distance, Michael stood amidst the aftermath of his victory, his chest heaving with exertion and his eyes ablaze with an unyielding resolve. It was then that he called out to the heavens, his voice carrying the weight of his defiance. "For Crux," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the void. "I told you to stay away from my way." His words hung in the air, a challenge issued to the deity who had sought to interfere with his ambitions. The wind carried his voice across the desolate landscape, a proclamation that reverberated with unyielding determination. Michael's gaze swept across the battleground, his eyes locking onto the scattered remains of the dragon. With a mixture of satisfaction and warning, he muttered under his breath, "Consider this a warning." As the dust settled and the echoes of the battle faded, an unsettling stillness engulfed the pocket dimension. The remnants of the skeletal dragon had vanished, leaving no trace behind, as if it had never existed. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, suspended in an eerie silence that sent shivers down Michael's spine. In the midst of this surreal calm, a sudden manifestation shattered the tranquility. An ethereal black crow materialized in the air before Michael, its presence ominous and foreboding. Its feathers glistened with an otherworldly darkness, and its eyes gleamed with an intelligence beyond that of a mere bird. With a gruff, devilish voice that seemed to carry echoes from the deepest recesses of the underworld, the crow spoke, its words cutting through the silence like a sharp blade. "You haven't disappointed me, God of Darkness." With a calm demeanor, Michael gazed at the crow before him, addressing it by name. "Forcrux, I presume," he stated, his voice steady as he awaited the crow's response. Amusement danced in the crow's eyes, a glimmer of intrigue at witnessing the God of Darkness in action. It reminisced about its previous discussion with Andor, the god of time and space, when Andor sought Forcrux assistance in reanimating the corpse of Vidora, the three-headed Hydra and former companion of the previous Dark Lord. The ethereal crow, embodying the essence of Forcrux, acknowledged Michael's actions. "You have slain 2 of my creations today," it uttered, its words carrying a sense of authority and understanding. Forcrux, as the creator of this pocket dimension, possessed the ability to manifest within it, drawing upon the concentrated death energy that permeated the realm. Despite the barrier imposed by the previous Dark Lord, Forcrux could manifest itself in its crow form within places where the threads of death were tightly woven. Michael maintained his composure, unyielding in the face of the god before him. He met Forcrux's gaze with unwavering resolve, unburdened by fear, for if Forcrux had intended harm, it could have enacted it already. The absence of such aggression suggested that either Forcrux lacked the means to harm him or harbored ulterior motives. The God of Darkness spoke, his voice measured and calm. "That orc tried to steal something that belonged to me," he explained, his eyes momentarily glancing at the minuscule remnants of bone dust scattered on the ground. He returned his focus to the crow, unmoved by the god's presence. "And as for this dragon, it was merely an obstacle in my path," Michael continued, his tone unwavering. Despite standing before a god, he remained resolute. The Dark Lord's confidence stemmed from the knowledge that if Forcrux truly desired his downfall, it would have already transpired. Thus, the god's motives remained cloaked in uncertainty. However, Forcrux's next words hinted at a greater threat, one that surpassed the demon corpses sealed within the coveted coffins. Michael's curiosity was piqued as he sought to unravel the enigma before him. "And what, pray tell, might that be?" he inquired, his voice betraying a glimmer of intrigue. Forcrux posed a thought-provoking question to Michael, his voice laced with a touch of intrigue. "Have you ever pondered the fate of your companion, Vidora, in your previous timeline?" The God of Darkness furrowed his brow, taken aback by the sudden revelation that Forcrux delivered so calmly. Michael's silence betrayed his lack of awareness, prompting Forcrux to enlighten him further. "It seems you are in the dark, and rightly so. Allow me to expand your understanding, God of Darkness. In this present timeline, your former pet Hydra has been unearthed by Andor. The god of time and space intends to resurrect the creature, harnessing its power to wage war against you." The weight of Forcrux's words settled upon Michael, his mind racing to grasp the implications of such a revelation. Tension filled the air as Michael contemplated the magnitude of this newfound threat. Unbeknownst to Michael, Forcrux, the god of necromancy, had been covertly aiding in the resurrection of Vidora's corpse. However, Forcrux harbored no allegiance toward Andor or the God of Darkness. As a deity who had been shunned by the pantheon and the majority of gods in the realm, Forcrux's loyalty rested solely with himself. In the impending conflict between the God of Time and Space and the God of Darkness, Forcrux saw an opportunity to align himself with both sides, utilizing their bitter rivalry to further his own agenda. Chapter 1009. Harry and Layla perched atop a serene mountaintop. A young boy with golden locks sat amidst a sprawling meadow, his gaze fixed upon the breathtaking canvas of colors painted across the sky as the sun gracefully descended. The hues of orange, pink, and purple melded together, casting a warm glow that bathed the world in a tranquil embrace. Deep in thought, Harry, displayed a pensive expression beyond his tender age. Lost in contemplation, he seemed oblivious to the approach of a graceful woman carrying a bowl. This woman, none other than Layla Alden, quietly settled beside him on the grass, her presence a gentle interruption to his musings. "Harry, you haven't had a proper meal today," Layla gently reminded him, her voice carrying a blend of concern and affection. Startled by his mother's voice, Harry blinked and turned his attention to her. His young mind wrestled with a pressing question that weighed heavily upon him. With a mixture of curiosity and innocence, he ventured to ask, "Mom, why does everyone say that Dad is evil? Is he truly a bad person?" Rather than displaying shock or surprise, Layla sighed. Weariness etched upon her face. She had grown accustomed to hearing such disparaging remarks aimed at Ghost, the Dark Lord who had captured the attention and scrutiny of all of Mazeroth. What Layla considered a stroke of luck was the fact that nobody knew Harry's true lineage, that he was the son of the feared Dark Lord himself. "Harry, I've told you before, you're still too young to comprehend the complexities of the world fully," Layla replied, her tone gentle yet tinged with caution. She reached out and tenderly turned his face toward her own, knowing that, inadvertently, Harry had inherited the same piercing gaze that had defined his father, Ghost. Desperation tugged at Harry's voice as he pleaded with his mother. "Please, Mom, I really need to know." Layla observed her son's earnestness and couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. The weight of the world seemed to rest upon his young shoulders, burdened by the judgment and fear surrounding his father's reputation. "Why this sudden urgency, Harry?" Layla inquired, her concern etched in her voice. Harry's voice quivered with a mix of apprehension and vulnerability as he revealed his innermost fears. "I can't bear it anymore, Mom. Everywhere I go, the children label him as the big, bad evil. Knowing that he is my father, I'm terrified that I might inherit his darkness." The raw emotion in Harry's words struck Layla deeply, melting away the coldness that had enveloped her heart. Moved by her son's distress, she instinctively drew closer, enfolding him in a comforting embrace that exuded motherly warmth. Gently, Layla reached for a morsel of honey-glazed rice from the bowl beside them, her hand moving with tenderness and care. She lifted the morsel to Harry's lips, offering sustenance and affection in a single gesture. "Harry, my love, your father is not the monster that others perceive him to be," Layla assured him, her voice laced with sincerity and love. Harry's voice trembled with uncertainty as he raised another question. "But Mom, I witnessed him. I saw him take Aunt Edith's life. People say he has caused harm to countless others. What if I become like him?" Layla tenderly brushed away a few lingering grains of rice from the corner of Harry's lips before continuing to feed him, a gesture filled with love and reassurance. Aunt Edith's actions were clouded by her grief and anger. "Harry," Layla explained gently, "her choices led to someone trying to harm you. Your father is the kind of man who will go to any lengths to protect those he cares about and ensure justice is served." Harry pondered his mother's words, chewing his food thoughtfully before swallowing. Despite his lack of appetite, the warmth and affection emanating from his mother's smile made the nourishment go down easier. "But Mom, if he truly cares about us, why isn't he here?" Harry's voice quivered with longing and confusion. Layla's eyes brimmed with understanding as she caressed her son's cheek, her voice filled with tenderness. "It's not that he's not with us, Harry. It's that we are not with him. You must know, my son, he didn't leave us. I made the choice to separate from him when he asked me to come with him." As Harry's shock began to subside, Layla set aside the empty bowl, realizing that she couldn't withhold the truth any longer. Her son was growing rapidly, both physically and mentally, and she understood the importance of providing him with answers. She refused to let the world's perceptions shape Harry's thoughts, determined not to let him be swayed by external influences. "He truly wanted us to be with him," Layla confirmed, her voice filled with sincerity, causing Harry's eyes to well up with tears of relief. In that moment, he realized that his father hadn't abandoned him, contrary to what he had believed. Harry's trust and love for his mother were unwavering, And when she assured him that his father wasn't the embodiment of evil as the world claimed, he wholeheartedly believed her. Curiosity still tugged at Harry's heart, and he couldn't help but ask, "But why didn't you agree to go with him?" Layla let out a sigh, her gaze drifting toward the distant horizon. "I made that choice because I didn't want us to become entangled in the war between the world and your father," Layla explained, her voice tinged with a touch of sadness. "Sometimes, leaving your loved ones is a way of loving them, Harry." Harry's brow furrowed with contemplation, and he continued to seek clarity. Professor Rake once said that if everyone calls a man evil, then he must be evil. So why is everyone fighting against Dad if he is a good man? And if he were to harm everyone, even his own family, wouldn't that only prove the world right? You've always told me that we cannot fight darkness with more darkness, Mom. Layla's heart swelled with pride as she realized just how much Harry had grown. The image of him as a spirit child, ethereal and delicate, flashed in her mind. Now, standing before her, he was no longer a child or a baby she used to carry in her arms. He was a young man seeking truth and grappling with complex questions, and it was her duty to guide him through this labyrinth of uncertainty. Layla took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on Harry's searching gaze. It was time to shed light on the truth, to reveal the complexities of their circumstances. Your father, Harry, once fought tirelessly to change the world's perception of him. But as time went on, he realized the futility of that battle. Instead, he chose to embrace the label placed upon him and set out to change the world itself. It's a fight he's winning, my dear. He'd rather be feared by everyone than allow them to pose a threat to him. But that doesn't make him evil. Your father has endured unimaginable suffering, more than anyone I've ever known. No one has the right to pass judgment on him. If they call him evil, then the world itself must bear that burden. Layla understood Ghost's plight intimately, for she too had been caught in the web of difficult choices, trying to do what was best for their loved ones. She couldn't forget the words of Wulfric, which had weighed heavily on her decision to leave Ghost. The safest place for you and Harry is within the enemy lines, Layla. If the Skyhall knew they had you both within their grasp, they wouldn't harm you. But if you chose to go with Ghost, they would hunt you down to hurt him. Those words echoed in her mind, reminding her of the risks they faced. The weight of her decision to leave Ghost behind had been a heavy burden on Layla's heart. But in her mind, it was the choice that would ensure their safety, even if it meant being apart from the man they loved. Mom, is it true that Dad used to be a student in Mazeroth? Harry's curiosity piqued as he leaned in closer, eager to learn more about his father. The rumors and whispers from other children had intrigued him, and he wanted to hear the truth from his mother's perspective. Yes, it's true, Harry, Layla confirmed, a fond smile playing on her lips as she reminisced. Your father was not only a student, but he was also considered one of the brightest. Professor Lane, who was known for his alchemy expertise, took a special interest in Ghost's abilities. They had a unique bond like mentor and protege. Your father's talent as an alchemist surpassed all expectations. He was a true master of his craft. Harry's eyes widened in awe. He had always heard stories of his father's notorious deeds, but this new revelation sparked a sense of pride within him. He wanted to know more about the man behind the reputation. But, Mom, Harry continued, why does everyone only focus on the bad things? Are there no good deeds that Dad has done? Layla's smile grew warmer as she gently brushed a strand of hair away from Harry's face. Oh, my dear boy, the world often forgets about the goodness in people when darkness overshadows them. Your father's true nature goes beyond the rumors and fear surrounding him. There is a side to him that many have not seen. She paused for a moment, her eyes glimmering with fond memories. Did you know that there is a small town called Bradford? Your father single-handedly transformed it from a struggling fishing village into a thriving community. The people there look up to him as their savior. He used his alchemical knowledge and resources to bring prosperity and happiness to their lives. Does that sound like something an evil man would do? Harry's eyes widened with amazement. He never imagined his father as a hero or a bringer of happiness. This newfound knowledge shattered the image the world had painted of Ghost. Dad walks the line between good and bad. My love, Layla continued, her voice filled with affection. He is a complex individual, driven by his own sense of justice and determination. Most people in this world can be easily categorized as either good or bad, but your father defies such simplistic labels. He seeks to protect those he cares about and fights for a cause he believes in, even if it means facing the world's judgment. Harry pondered his mother's words, trying to reconcile the conflicting images of his father in his mind. He realized that he had only scratched the surface of understanding who Ghost truly was. The stories of his kindness and brilliance began to overshadow the tales of darkness and fear. Curiosity still burning in his eyes, Harry couldn't help but ask another question. Mom, Sister Johanna, and Nerida said something about you trying to kill Dad once. Is that true? Ah, those two can't seem to keep a secret, Layla sighed, her voice filled with both amusement and exasperation. After a moment, she composed herself and met Harry's gaze. Women can sometimes get really angry, Harry. It's like a storm inside them, and it's best for a man to agree with them even if they haven't done anything wrong, just to keep the peace. But your dad was different. He didn't back down easily. When we had an argument, he stood his ground and actually made a lot of sense, Layla explained with a warm smile. Harry's young mind struggled to comprehend his mother's words. He furrowed his brow and tilted his head in confusion. So, you tried to hurt him when he made sense? He asked, seeking clarification. Layla chuckled softly, realizing the need to simplify her explanation. Well, when a man makes sense in an argument, sometimes a woman might react by crying or even wanting to hurt him. It's like a strange rule, she said, trying to find a light-hearted tone. Harry's eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't quite grasp the idea that someone could respond with violence when faced with sense and reason. It seemed illogical to him. But that doesn't make sense, Mom. Why would someone want to hurt another person when they're making sense? He asked innocently. Layla's laughter filled the air as she saw the genuine confusion on Harry's face. She realized that trying to simplify the explanation further was necessary. You're right, my dear. It doesn't make much sense, does it? Sometimes people can react in unpredictable ways, even to things that seem logical. It's a quirk of human nature, I suppose, she replied, her tone gentle and understanding. Harry nodded, accepting his mother's explanation. He may not fully comprehend the intricacies of adult interactions, but he trusted his mother's words. After all, she had always been his guiding light, the one who offered love and reassurance in even the most confusing times. The conversation faded into a comfortable silence as mother and son sat together, the fading light of the day casting a warm glow around them. Harry felt a sense of peace settling within him, knowing that even in the midst of complexity, his mother would always be there to offer guidance and love. Chapter 10:10. The Fallen God's arc begins. Meanwhile, Selisi stood in her grand hall, a space that reflected her strategic mind and housed her vast collection of knowledge. The round table at the center was adorned with maps, scrolls, and intricate models of battle formations, serving as a constant reminder of the war they waged in the shadows. The walls were lined with shelves holding countless books, each one meticulously chosen to hone her tactical prowess. A grand sofa set provided a comfortable spot for contemplation, while a board displayed a mosaic of news clippings and portraits, a visual representation of the Dark Lord's deeds and their resistance against him. As Selisi studied the detailed map of the Sea Realm, plotting their next move against the Dark Lord, Evan gracefully entered the room, surrounded by a faint ethereal glow. Ever since Evan's body was infused with divine grace, he had become akin to a god himself. His powers had skyrocketed, enabling him to combat the Dark Lord's minions. However, their adversaries had retreated into hiding after the Dark Lord mysteriously vanished from his own wedding. Lady Selisi, I bring news regarding Noah. Evan approached the round table and joined Sailsis' side. Sailsis' eyes lit up with anticipation. Did you manage to convince Noah to join our cause against the Dark Lord? She inquired, her voice filled with hope. Evan's head drooped slightly, and a trace of sadness flickered in his eyes. He felt deep sympathy for Noah, who had tragically lost his beloved wife at the hands of the Dark Lord, who happened to be his own twin brother. As if that wasn't enough, Noah's father had been imprisoned by the Skyhall, and his sister, Rowena Winston, remained missing. Rumors circulated about Rowena's fate, some suggesting she had perished, while others claimed she had disappeared after learning the shocking truth of her relation to the Dark Lord. Salisi had informed Evan that even if Rowena were to resurface, the Skyhall would undoubtedly punish her for her actions during the Nagaland War. Despite learning of the Dark Lord's identity as her younger brother, Rowena had fearlessly placed herself in harm's way, shielding him from a lethal energy beam during the conflict. However, in the eyes of the Skyhall, her courageous act was deemed treasonous. If she were still alive, the Skyhall would surely seek retribution, regardless of her esteemed position as the Holy Maiden. The weight of these revelations weighed heavily on Evan's heart as he relayed the news to Salisi. He understood the immense burden Noah carried, the anguish of losing a loved one and the relentless search for answers and justice. The Shadow Clan's mission to overthrow the Dark Lord had become even more crucial, not only for their cause but for the sake of Noah, Rowena, and countless others affected by the Dark Lord's reign of terror. We should allow Noah some time to process everything. How did he appear? Was he filled with rage or did he manage to maintain his composure? Sales's inquiry, though seemingly unusual, held a purposeful significance. Evan understood that Sales's questions always held deeper meaning. Surprisingly, he seemed remarkably calm. It was as if the weight of losing his wife and family hadn't taken its toll on him. Evan replied. Noah's demeanor and how he conducted himself left Evan taken aback. He had anticipated a furious outburst from Noah upon discovering the fate of his beloved Alicia. Yet, instead of succumbing to anger, Noah had chosen seclusion atop a solitary mountain, appearing composed and serene. Salisi couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction upon hearing Evan's response. However, she remained outwardly expressionless, maintaining her enigmatic demeanor. A man who remains calm even in the face of anger is far more dangerous than one who outwardly displays his rage, Salisi stated, her words carrying a weight of wisdom. Evan nodded, acknowledging the truth in Sales's statement. There was an unsettling power in someone who could contain their anger and channel it with purpose and precision. Noah's tranquility in the midst of such profound loss hinted at a depth of resolve and determination that could prove formidable in their fight against the Dark Lord. Regardless of whether Noah chooses to join our cause or not, I am certain he will stand against the Dark Lord. As a man, he will seek vengeance for his wife, Evan expressed, his conviction unwavering. Salisi nodded in agreement, knowing the deep well of anger that must be brewing within Noah, especially considering the Dark Lord was his own twin brother. Returning her focus to the map of the Sea Realm, Salisi contemplated their next course of action. Evan, I need you to venture into the Sea Realm and investigate the recent energy radiation that Hammond's contraption detected, Salisi instructed, her voice steady and determined. Evan was well aware that since the fallen gods had regained their graces, one of Hammond's inventions had detected a powerful surge of energy emanating from the Sea Realm. Reports from Sales's spies revealed that the Water God Hall had also discovered this anomaly and dispatched a team deep into the depths of the ocean to investigate. Keep in mind that the Water God Hall's team may pose some resistance. Try to handle the situation peacefully, but if necessary, dispose of them, Salisi added, emphasizing the importance of securing the energy source before the Dark Lord could lay claim to it. Leaning against the table, Evan studied the map, absorbing the details. Salisi continued her explanation, her voice tinged with a sense of urgency. I have a strong feeling that this energy radiation is somehow connected to the Dark Lord. We cannot allow him to obtain it. As long as the Dark Lord remains below the heavenly stage of power, we can hold our ground with the aid of the fallen gods. Evan's brows furrowed in concern as he posed a crucial question. What if the Dark Lord surpasses the heavenly stage? What will happen then? He inquired, fully aware of the formidable might possessed by the Dark Lord, the God of Darkness. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Comsalice's gaze turned solemn, her voice tinged with a hint of worry. If that happens, the fallen gods will stand no chance against the Dark Lord. Only Noah, with his unique abilities and determination, will have a fighting chance. However, even then, Noah will require something truly extraordinary to defeat the Dark Lord. The weight of their mission hung heavily in the air, as Celice and Evan exchanged a knowing glance. The stakes were higher than ever, and the impending confrontation with the Dark Lord loomed ominously on the horizon. Celice's mind raced with strategic plans and contingencies, recognizing the crucial role they played in preventing the Dark Lord from obtaining the mysterious energy source. The fate of their world rested in their hands, and they would stop at nothing to ensure that darkness would not prevail. We must also consider the possibility that the Dark Lord has spies within the Sea Realm. Time is of the essence, Evan. You need to depart today, Celice stated with a sense of urgency, emphasizing the need for swift action. Before Evan embarked on his mission, he felt compelled to address a pressing concern regarding Princess Zanali and the situation in Nagaland. Evan couldn't help but question whether leaving Zanali in Nagaland was the best course of action, given the perilous circumstances. Furthermore, he wondered if there was any way to heal Zanali's broken meridians, a consequence of the Dark Queen's treacherous actions. Lady Celice, is it truly wise to leave Princess Zanali in Nagaland? And is there any possibility of restoring her meridians? Evan inquired, his voice tinged with genuine concern. While he respected Celice's unwavering dedication to their cause, he couldn't shake the feeling that Zanali was being sacrificed in the process. Having already lost her husband at the hands of Gaia, who happened to be both the Dark Lord's wife and Celice's stepdaughter, Evan couldn't help but worry for Zanali's well-being. The revelation that Gaia, the Dark Queen, had slain her own father and shattered Zanali's meridians had shocked many, leaving a sense of disbelief in its wake. Panda's novel. Calm Celice took a moment to gather her thoughts, her expression composed yet carrying a subtle hint of sadness. She understood the underlying concerns and the weight of her decision regarding Zanali's fate. The kingdom is in capable hands, Evan. As for the Dark Lord, he has no reason to harm Zanali, Celice reassured, her words intended to provide solace. However, deep down, even Zanali, her own daughter, was but a pawn in her intricate game against the Dark Lord. Celice harbored a hidden agenda, using Zanali's relationship with Noah to stoke his flames of anger and vengeance further. Celice desired for Noah to be consumed by his fury before facing the Dark Lord, ensuring that no remnants of brotherly affection would sway him. She knew all too well that the Dark Lord would show no mercy towards Noah, and Celice wanted him to be prepared for the ruthless battle ahead. Unbeknownst to Evan, Celice's motives remained shrouded in the depths of her complex strategy. The sacrifices she made for the greater good weighed heavily on her conscience, but she remained resolute in her pursuit to dismantle the Dark Lord's reign. For now, Zanali's safety rested on the delicate edge of their plans, an unavoidable casualty in the battle against darkness. I have faith in your judgment, Lady Celice, Evan conveyed before departing from the Grand Hall, leaving Celice to contemplate the intricate web of her plans. As Evan made his way out, the ethereal form of Andreas materialized before Celice, their clandestine alliance continuing to take shape. Andreas, it's time to make our move with Noah. Let us ignite the long-awaited clash between the two brothers, Celice declared with a mischievous grin. Andreas' face mirrored her cunning expression, fully aware of the manipulative path they were about to tread. Remember, Andreas, you must conceal your true identity from Noah. You cannot reveal that you are allied with me or that you are not his mentor, Celice cautioned, emphasizing the need for secrecy. Andreas, the second soul piece of the enigmatic mentor, simply shrugged in response. Trust me, Celice, I know exactly what I'm doing. Noah teeters on the precipice of losing himself to his seething rage. I understand his emotions all too well. All we need to do is fan the flames, the second soul piece of Andreas assured, exuding a sense of confidence in their calculated maneuvers. Celice's grin widened as she contemplated the upcoming chess match of manipulation and hidden agendas. The stakes were high, but she was willing to gamble everything in her quest to dismantle the Dark Lord's dominion. Andreas, her steadfast ally, shared her determination, both of them fully committed to pushing Noah toward his ultimate destiny. Before you depart, ensure that Alara remains in Hammond's company at all times. You understand the vital role Hammond and his intelligence play in our mission to bring down the Dark Lord. Salisi instructed Andreas, emphasizing the importance of protecting their valuable asset. Andreas nodded in agreement, his ethereal form fading away, leaving Salisi alone in the Grand Hall. As she contemplated her next strategic moves against the Dark Lord, unbeknownst to her, a treacherous twist was already in motion. The energy radiation she had dispatched Evan to investigate was not what it seemed. It was a seed of darkness, and the Dark Lord himself was swiftly closing in to claim it. Little did Salisi know that her plans were about to be upended by a malevolent force, setting in motion a chain of events that would challenge her every strategy. The Dark Lord's relentless pursuit of power and domination threatened to unravel everything she had meticulously built. With the seed of darkness at the center of this unfolding calamity, Salesys' intricate web of alliances and calculations hung in the balance. In other words, the Dark Lord was on his way to get the seed of darkness. Chapter 10:11. Lord Information's True Identity. Lord Information, the wise and serene elf with flowing blonde hair, sat in his study behind a magnificent mahogany table adorned with flickering candles in delicate holders. The room was a sanctuary of knowledge, with book racks lining the walls, filled to the brim with ancient tomes, weathered scrolls, and carefully preserved parchments. The shelves overflowed with the accumulated wisdom of countless generations. In this sanctuary of knowledge, Lord Information was engrossed in his studies, surrounded by a sea of scrolls that he meticulously perused. His sharp eyes danced across the ancient text, absorbing the profound knowledge and insights contained within. As his fingertips delicately unfurled each scroll, the room suddenly quivered, a faint tremor that only he could perceive. Lord Information, attuned to the subtle vibrations of the world, sensed the disturbance and paused. With a composed demeanor, he tapped his slender fingers upon the smooth mahogany table in a rhythm known only to him, a coded language between him and the enchantments that surrounded him. The table responded, and two intricate runes, resembling eyes, glimmered with ethereal light. As the runes sparked to life, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Hidden mechanisms whirred into action, revealing a small potion nestled within the heart of the table. The vial glinted with a silvery radiance, catching the flickering candlelight. Lord Information's calm gaze fixed upon the glistening orb as its secrets were unveiled. With a gentle yet purposeful touch, Lord Information reached out, his fingertips hovering above the gleaming orb. His aura of wisdom and calmness remained unshaken, even as anticipation coursed through his veins. The room was hushed, the only sound the soft rustling of parchment and the beating of his own heart. The room reverberated with a subtle hum as the silver orb emitted a soft, melodic tone. Lord Information, his heart brimming with reverence, rose from his chair and gracefully sank to one knee upon the floor. Humble servant of the divine goddess Seraphine, I offer my greetings, Lord Information spoke, his head respectfully bowed. Unbeknownst to the world, Lord Information was among the hidden devotees of Seraphine, the goddess of information. Seraphine's power derived from the vast accumulation of knowledge provided by her followers. Within an intricate network of information, Seraphine acted as the central hub. Whenever her devotees sought knowledge, she would gather information shared by others and provide it to those in need. This unique connection allowed Lord Information to possess exclusive and invaluable insights that eluded the grasp of ordinary mortals. Arise, Thelian. Seraphine's voice resonated from the luminous orb, addressing Lord Information by his true name, Thelian Whisperwind. Only Seraphine and Thelian himself knew this deeply personal connection. Andor, the High God, has granted me permission to aid Noah Winston, Thelian. It is time for the long-awaited meeting of the two brothers upon the battlefield, Seraphine declared. Thelian, upon hearing these words from his goddess, felt a shiver cascade down his spine. He had witnessed the immense power wielded by the Dark Lord, and the devastating aftermath that unfolded whenever he clashed with the mortal realm. The thought of the Dark Lord, a god in his own right, engaging in a cataclysmic battle with his twin brother Noah, also a god, sent chills through Thelian's soul. The Dark Lord has acquired 2 god-killing arrows forged by Qinjiu, and Noah possesses 2 as well. Unfortunately, the Dark Lord has obtained the upper hand in this regard. To vanquish the Dark Lord, Noah must wield all 8 arrows at his disposal. Since acquiring the Dark Lord's arrows is not within our grasp, we must assist Noah in locating the rest while the Dark Lord is absent from the mortal realm, Seraphine urgently conveyed, her voice tinged with a sense of urgency. Thelian listened intently, understanding the critical importance of their mission. The fate of the world hung in the balance, and it was his divine duty to guide Noah on this perilous path. With Seraphine's guidance and the wisdom he had amassed, Thelian would ensure that Noah possessed the tools necessary to confront the Dark Lord, their fateful encounter drawing ever closer. Now, Thelian, I shall entrust you with the vital information regarding the possible locations of the remaining god-killing arrows. It is imperative that you personally deliver this map into Noah's hands. I am well aware that the Dark Lord's minions are keeping a watchful eye on you, but you must not falter in this crucial task, Seraphine declared. As she spoke, a golden map adorned with glowing points materialized on the table beside the shimmering orb, illuminating the room with its radiant presence. Divine Goddess, please forgive your humble devotee for daring to question your wisdom, but as far as my understanding goes, Noah will be unable to defeat the Dark Lord without all 8 god-killing arrows. With the Dark Lord already in possession of 2 arrows, Noah's chances of victory seem slim. Thelian voiced his concerns. Seraphine responded with unwavering serenity, addressing Thelian's query. The same holds true for the Dark Lord. Without all 8 arrows, he too will be unable to vanquish Noah. Thus, the outcome of their battle will depend on Noah's skill and resourcefulness in somehow wresting the Dark Lord's 2 arrows from his grasp, thereby harnessing the combined power of all 8 to deliver the final blow, Seraphine explained. In which realm will this ultimate confrontation take place, Divine Goddess? Thelian inquired, his curiosity piqued. If everything transpires according to Andor's plan, the final battle shall unfold in the realm of Ukilan, Seraphine revealed, her words resonating with a sense of destiny and inevitability. Thus far, you have displayed remarkable skill in maintaining your guise as an information merchant. Neither the Dark Lord nor Noah suspects your true allegiance to me. I implore you to continue concealing this fact for as long as possible, even after delivering the map to Noah. Should the Dark Lord emerge triumphant in his battle against Noah, only the divine pantheon would possess the power to vanquish him. However, given the current circumstances, the pantheon is unable to intervene directly in the mortal realm. Therefore, it is crucial that all our devoted followers remain vigilant and keep a watchful eye on the Dark Lord for as long as we can, Seraphine advised, her voice resonating with a sense of urgency and caution. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Calm ******. Neela and Alvaro soared through the vast expanse of the evening sky, their wings carrying them gracefully over the world below. The sun began its descent, casting a warm golden glow across the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. Wispy clouds scattered across the canvas, creating a breathtaking tapestry against the fading light. As they flew, Neela and Alvaro looked down upon the sprawling forest that stretched out beneath them. The dense canopy of trees, adorned in shades of emerald and jade, appeared like a lush carpet blanketing the earth. Shafts of sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. As Neela and Alvaro soared through the vast sky, a heavy silence hung between them. Alvaro, who worked as a double agent for the Dark Lord, felt a growing unease in the absence of conversation. The risks he took by serving both sides weighed heavily on his mind. Among the members of Noah's elite unit, Neela's unwavering loyalty to their leader made Alvaro particularly cautious. In recent weeks, he had sensed that Neela might have noticed something amiss, suspecting his true allegiance. Attempting to gauge her suspicions, Alvaro cautiously broke the silence. "Is something bothering you, Neela?" he inquired, his voice laced with uncertainty. Neela's response was initially curt. "Nothing," she replied. Alvaro, positioned behind her in flight, couldn't discern her expression. However, after a brief pause, Neela spoke again, suggesting they take a break to conserve their energy. She guided them towards a tranquil mountaintop, its peaceful ambience contrasting with the turmoil in Alvaro's heart. Serving the Dark Lord had brought Alvaro considerable wealth, but it also entailed grave risks. The presence of the fallen gods and the increasing influence of the Sky Hall in the mortal realm meant that enemies of the Dark Lord were multiplying by the day. Alvaro understood that severing ties with the Dark Lord would result in dire consequences, possibly costing him his life. He found himself caught in a perilous web, entangled too deeply to extricate himself easily. Neela's gaze lingered upon the expanse of the crystal ocean, stretching far into the distance under the shimmering moonlight and starry night sky. The beauty of the tranquil scene was momentarily overshadowed by the weight of her thoughts. With a deep breath, she mustered the courage to address the growing doubts that plagued her. "You've changed, Alvaro?" Neela spoke softly, her words hanging in the air. The impact of her statement sent a jolt through Alvaro's heart, making it skip a beat. Trying to mask his unease with a playful tone, Alvaro responded, "What do you mean? Are you just messing with me?" He forced a chuckle, hoping to deflect the seriousness of the situation. Neela remained still, her back turned towards him, as she grappled with her inner turmoil. Though lacking concrete evidence of Alvaro's betrayal, her instincts screamed that something was amiss. 3 weeks prior, a death squad loyal to the Dark Lord had ruthlessly attacked a supposed safe house that Neela herself had fabricated, leading her fellow elite unit members to believe Noah was hiding there. The safe house's existence had been shared only among the elite soldiers, making the targeted attack all the more suspicious. Furthermore, Neela had uncovered a startling revelation during her investigations into the wealth and backgrounds of her comrades prior to the Dark Lord's assault on their guardian guild. It had come to her attention that Alvaro had recently acquired opulent manors and vineyards across the R continent. The timing and nature of his newfound affluence raised her suspicions further. In addition, whenever Ilara Valrin dispatched a group of elite soldiers to apprehend nobles suspected of colluding with the Dark Lord, they were met with unexpected resistance. Despite the Dark Lord's obliteration of their guardian guild and the massacre of their fellow guardians, Neela remained steadfast in her loyalty to Noah, the supreme guardian. Yearning for her instincts to be proven wrong, Neela turned to face Alvaro, her expression a mix of concern and urgency. "Alvaro, please, you have to be honest with me. We're friends. If there's something you need to tell me, please do so before we meet with Noah." Her words hung in the air, the weight of their significance palpable in the silence that followed. Panda's novel calm, Neela's eyes welled up with tears as her fists clenched in frustration and anxiety. She could see Alvaro's lips trembling and a peculiar glint in his eyes. The signs were clear. Alvaro was undoubtedly concealing something, and it weighed heavily on Neela's heart. But before he could speak, a sudden surge of fear shot through her body, causing the hair on her neck to stand on end. "Look out!" Alvaro's voice rang out urgently, his instincts kicking into action. Without a moment's hesitation, he lunged forward, propelling Neela out of harm's way. Time seemed to slow as Neela's senses sharpened, registering the imminent danger. In the blink of an eye, an arrow materialized from the shadows, hurtling through the air with deadly precision. Alvaro's selfless act of protection came at a terrible cost. The arrow found its mark, piercing through his chest with a sickening thud. Neela's gaze shifted upward, her tear-filled eyes widening in terror as she witnessed a haunting sight unfold before her. Emerging from the shadows of the evening sky were figures cloaked in ominous dark robes, their presence emanating an aura of malevolence. The air crackled with an unsettling energy, sending shivers down Neela's spine. As the figures drew nearer, a chilling realization washed over her. From beneath the depths of their black hoods, gleaming white fangs glistened with a predatory hunger. These were none other than the minions of the Dark Lord, the dreaded vampires who served as his relentless enforcers. Neela's heart sank as she comprehended the dire truth. They had been ambushed. The vampire minions descended with an eerie grace, their dark forms gliding through the air like phantoms. Their eyes burned with an unholy crimson glow, fixated on their wounded prey. Neela's instincts screamed at her to flee, to escape this deadly trap, but her determination to protect her fallen comrade and unravel the mysteries surrounding Alvaro's true allegiance anchored her in place.